THAT, and welcome to the first ever Hero Recall Overwatch podcast with Level 2 Gamers and TigratoPower, or TigratoPower. Is that how you pronounce it?
TigratoPower. Sorry, I did it with the Italian accent shit. Sorry.
There's nothing wrong with that.
That's how it is.
And I am joined, of course, by the other half of Level 2 Gamers, which is Mr. Keegan Vi. Would you care to say hi to the lovely folks at home?
It's weird hearing you say the other half, because whenever we stream, I always say the other half. So you're my other half, and it's weird being on this side. But hello, everybody. How y'all doing? I actually played Overwatch literally before we went live. I was playing Overwatch because Tom's like, "Hey, I need some help." I was like, "Hold on, I got to finish the match." I won't say how the match went. It went horribly, by the way.
So I was doing for the podcast. I was playing Overwatch.
And the other voice that you are hearing here is Mr. James TigratoPower. And how are you doing up there in snowy Canada?
It's freaking cold.
Yeah.
But apparently it's only going to be cold for like another week, and then spring's going to start, so...
Yeah, they told us that too. It hasn't changed a whole lot in St. Louis. It's basically been like snow, a little bit of sun, snow, a little bit of sun. And
Dude, it got above freezing today, and I was like, ooh, this is warm.
Yeah, it like melted some snow. I am Tom from Level 2 Gamers, of course. And so just to quickly fill you in, the first ever episode. So basically, this is an Overwatch podcast where we will be discussing, obviously, Overwatch, but more importantly, the news surrounding the game itself, news surrounding the professional esport of Overwatch. We're then going to talk a little bit about our own shit, too, because we do make guides and we do, like, fun, character things and stuff. So we're going to talk a little bit about that in our own personal play. And, of course, we're going to dig, like, a deep dive into either a hero or a map or a team or something. Starting out with the heroes, because those are the most obvious picks, and we're going to kind of go through those. But... so that's kind of how it's going to run down time-wise. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I haven't really thought about it too much. And we're just going to dig in. So you guys feeling good? You ready? Get started?
Yep.
All right. So what I want to talk about first, we're going to dig into the news for the game itself. That being said, there's been a lot of updates recently to Overwatch. And can anyone guess why there's been a lot of updates to Overwatch recently? What are they trying to get rid of, folks?
I don't know.
Mercy, no.
Yeah, Mercy
I was
is
trying
back,
to make a meme joke, and I just couldn't pick it.
It's not goats. It's 3 supports, 3 tanks,
three. Yeah, they're not allowed to say goats for some stupid reason.
Well, they're allowed to say it. It just they actually said on the broadcast one time that 3-3 makes more sense from a strategical standpoint because it's called goats because that was the name of the team that started it.
Right.
So I'd say 3-3 because 3-3 covers a lot of things versus goats.
But the community knows it as goats.
I think it's also more for like new people watching and stuff like that. They don't want to, overwhelm people with random terms. Someone told me that they thought...
Somebody asked what a C9 was after the Shanghai game, and I was like, Jesus.
They said that GOAT stood for Go All Tanks... Go all tanks and support or something like that. I remember what it was. It was that they thought that was what it was stood for. No, guys, goats is a whole other thing. But anyway, they're trying to get rid of goats. And in order to do that, they need to make some changes. So Papa Jeff got on his high horse and started throwing down some nerfs and buffs to people that he thought deserved it. So let's go over the patch. So the patch itself, and there's 2 patches actually. There's one from February 26th, and they sort of updated that today, actually on March 6th is when we're recording this. So the first one, we had the new introduction of a new character by the way of Baptiste. I know a lot of people are going to want to say Baptiste. That is not his name. That is not how you pronounce that, apparently. We had this whole drama with Brigitte. By now we should have figured it out, but even the casters didn't know how to say Brigitte's name in OWL. So there's no P. You don't pronounce the P. It's Baptiste. So anyway, I know that you guys haven't had a chance to play him yet. I have a little bit. What do you think from what you've seen so far on Baptiste? Let's go Keegan first.
I think it's cool. So I've watched streamers play it. I watched a lot of Jane because he did a stream when he first came out, who's the coach for the Dallas Fuel, and I follow him on Twitch. And one of the things I loved was he was just trying stuff just to see what works because one of the skills with Baptiste is he has the invulnerability shield is the big thing. I think that's kind of gonna get in the way of things.
The Immortality Field is the official name.
That's it. Immortality Field. He has the regenerative burst, and then he has the biotic launcher. I'm reading it now. They're all bolded on my screen. And he has the amplification matrix and the exo boosts. But no, watching Jane play, my first impressions were this guy is super OP, which I feel like is the case every time a new character comes in. There's always that, like, how do they fit in? And Jane initially ran him with Bastion and an Ana.
Jesus.
And they just ran that on. I was watching Dorado, and they just steamrolled the team because they just kept bashing up and just putting the what is it, invulnerability shield or whatever the hell it's called, immortality field. That
Even
thing.
though it is
Basically what it does is it prevents people from dying. You can only get down to 40 HP. I mean, you think about that. That stops every ult. I think this is the only ability outside of a wall or a barrier that stops D.Va's ult. Like, you can all be inside of the middle of D.Va's ult. It can go off next to you and you're still alive. And that to me kind of is sort of broken. But I'm interested to kind of see more and more with him to kind of see how people implement him. Because initially the first week is just people fucking around and seeing what he can do. So I'm real curious. But my gut feeling was I'm going to play the shit out of him because I think he's cool the way he's designed, the way he functions, the way he plays the DPS with the combination of healing along with the mobility. But I think he's a little overpowered, and I think he's going to have some tweaks here and there like every new hero gets when they first get in the game.
Cool. And James, what do you think?
So I purposely, whenever there's a new hero going out, or like anything new happening about the game, it sounds counterintuitive, but I purposely do not look at any streams or anything because I want to develop my own opinion. But from what I've read and watched, I'm probably gonna like him for the same reasons I like Brigitte, in that I can do damage and heal. Because that's so crucial. Like, I can't always trust out my ELO, the DPS. I have to do healing and damage to get work done sometimes, so I'm probably gonna like him for that reason.
Yeah.
Full disclosure, I'm purposely avoiding anything just so I can figuring out myself, but I'm excited.
I did get a chance to play him. I got on the PTR a little bit, and I can say a couple things. So first of all, to your point, Keegan, about the immortality field. Sorry, I have to read it. About the immortality field.
The don't die in circle.
So when you you were talking about the D.Va bomb and everything. What I can't actually, it's not that bad, and I'll explain why. So like when you have let's say an Orisa shield or a Reinhardt shield or even a Winston bubble, right? You can drop those, and it takes quite a bit of firepower to break that shield before the D.Va bomb goes off, or you have to displace the person, displace the Reinhardt or whatever, boop him out of the way so he can't block everybody. With the immortality field, one of the things that's interesting about it is that the thing that creates the field, I guess, the robot thing, is the drone. Yeah, the drone is really easy to get, and it doesn't have a lot of health. So it's right above the center of everybody. So literally, if D.Va's okay, I'm about to go in with the bomb, if two people focus that thing, it's gone. So, and then he's on cooldown for a little while before it comes back up again. So I think that, yes, if it is up and no one's focusing it, then yeah, that's totally one of the better, and here's the fact it's even an ability and not a fucking ultimate is kind of cool.
Here's a question for is the immortality field the longest cooldown timed thing? What's Mercy's res at? Because it's 20 seconds for the cooldown on the immortality field.
I think it's less than Mercy's res, but I honestly can't remember.
I think res is 30.
I honestly can't remember.
I don't either.
But
because it felt like an ultimate. It felt like an ultimate to me to a certain point, to a certain extent, kind of like you're saying.
Yeah, for sure. But it's not as long as you focus it, and at pro levels of play, 1 or 2 Widow shots and it's gonna be gone.
Yeah.
So
in day one, people don't realize what they have to do to it too. So
right, exactly.
Like I said, the stream I'm watching, people just kept fighting inside of it, and then eventually, you said, just shoot it and it'll be gone.
The thing that I thought might have been OP was the fact that his gun does have 2 primary fires, right? Or a primary and a secondary. So his primary fire is a triple burst projectile from think Soldier's gun, 3-round bursts. Very simple. Really strong.
Pulse rifle.
Yeah, pulse rifle. Really strong. Super strong. 2 direct shots to this area, dead. But the grenade launcher is just a consistent heal. The reload takes maybe half a second on that, and it's just heal, reload, heal. It does. There's not a couple seconds for you to reload it or anything. It's a consistent thing. So the amount of healing that he can put out just by continuously firing that grenade launcher is kind of ridiculous. I mean, it's no more ridiculous than Ana shots, but I feel like Ana shots you earn those. You know what I mean? You have to aim and follow a Genji somewhere. It's a fucking grenade launcher. So it's just splash damage counts and stuff. So it's kind of, that is OP to me.
We should point out too that he can't heal himself with that.
That is true. But
so he can only heal himself with the, I call it the palm squeeze. I don't know the official names of any of these right now.
Regenerative burst.
That's it. When he goes like this and he squeezes something in his hand, it heals him. So he can't, because I would have thought that skill would have been way more OP if he could have done that. And
Right.
the fact that he can't do that, I think, is a good balance.
That was
to have with
definitely needed. But it's kind of like it's kind of like with Ana though. Like Ana has to make the decision: do I use this nade to heal myself, or do I use it to anti-nade the other team? He doesn't have to worry about that so much because he can just heal, regenerative burst, heal, and the regenerative burst cooldown is not nearly as bad as the immortality field. So it's kind of
it's 8 or 10 seconds.
Yeah,
if I remember
it's not
correctly.
too bad. It's not terrible.
But do his grenades damage enemies?
No.
No.
So it's not like the Ana's
That's
like
true.
he doesn't have
That's
the option
true.
to anti people.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Just
Let's talk about his ult amplification matrix. What are our thoughts on that?
It was way smaller than I thought
It's pretty small.
it was going to be. Like
Yeah.
I thought it. I mean, Symmetra's thing is obviously OP to the side. Like I knew it wasn't going to be that big.
It's a little big. Yeah.
But I expected it. I like when I heard about it, I expected it to be like Reinhardt shield sized because that to me you can fit quite a few people behind a Reinhardt shield versus like this. I feel like you can. I haven't played. You've played. You might be able to testify to it, but I think you can only have 2 people side by side in it.
Yeah. I mean, depending on the angle, because you could shoot it. Like if you're a widow, you can still shoot through
Well, you
it from
stand
like
behind.
50
But
yards back.
I'm saying like front line side by side.
close
it's only,
line.
like,
Yeah,
2
two maybe
people
3
behind.
overlapping. Yeah.
But the healing done from it is insane. Like it amplifies damage and healing. So like watching Jane was just stand behind it and he's like, everybody just go forward. Here's my immortality field. Jump in that. When it goes away, I'm going to heal you. Everybody run back to me.
Yeah.
And that's all he did.
It was nuts. Like I remember they did some testing with it, and they had they had an Orisa drum or bongo. They had Ana Nano, a widow, and they had like all these like amplifications on the widow, and then they had her shoot through the field, and she put out close to 2,000 damage points in one shot, one critical hit, like literally one shot
in a normal
tanks.
game that would happen though.
It would be rare, but it was
Unless
just funny.
making it happen.
It was just funny. Like I was just like, how the fuck? Like how OP does that make Widow? James, do you have any thoughts on the on that amplification matrix?
From the sound of it, it's going to be very good for taking choke points. It sounds kind of in the same vein as Coalescence, in that you can just, instead of getting people to run in front of you, or you can get them to run in front of you because of the healing, you can just get people fire through this small thing at the enemy team and kill them.
Yeah.
So I think it'll be pretty good for choke points, which is good because I hate choke points.
It might
Unless
be.
I'm playing Reinhardt.
I was like, imagine on first point Paris, the new map, like that first choke point. I hate it because you have to funnel through that one area. You can get through and get out with minimal damage, but you all go through that one between the 2 buildings initially. Imagine having that there and just.
I was going to say, what do you think it would combine well with?
Bastion.
Bastion. Widow. Anything that has a high rate of damage.
I was thinking about Graviton. You put the Graviton Surge in there, put the amplification in.
About alt combos.
Yeah. You don't even need like some flashy ult combo. You just put the amplification in front of the Grav, and everyone just like wrecks through it and just kill them a lot faster. Attack Visor would be good. Yeah.
Do we know if McCree's
But then again,
is Deadeye?
Yeah, they've actually improved Deadeye as well. But yeah, his everything through there is more powerful, including Deadeye. Yeah.
You're saying, James? Sorry, go off.
what I was saying is that if there's an enemies end, they're just going to transit.
Yeah.
So will it really matter? But if the enemies end doesn't have transit, they're going to get burned even faster.
I wonder if trance would be enough to keep people up, because the amplification is pretty severe. If you have like a pretty strong, powerful there, you might burn through it. I don't know for sure. I actually can't remember how much it does by, but
at the high level, it might be. At the lower levels, people are really coordinated enough to put out that much damage.
True that. Alrighty, so that's Baptiste. He just got a little bit of an update. They gave him like some more voice lines and skins and stuff like that on the PTR. But he should be coming to the general game soon. I'm excited to see what happens around him in the meta and see how that kind of goes.
I'm gonna play the crap out of him. As soon as he was announced and I saw his abilities, I was like, this is the character I'm gonna want to play. Same kind of like with James with Brig. Like as soon as Brig came out, I was like, granted, Brig was OP at the time, and I think that she's finally got a good balance. But like had fun playing Brig versus other characters you play because you have to.
Right.
I feel like Baptiste is going to be a fun character to play.
I think there is something to be said for his aim, though, too. Because you do have to have aim to play him well and do damage, like James said.
Saying I don't have aim?
I'm not saying...
He's going to be... But it seems like he's going to be a bit like playing soldier, except you're not going to be firing constantly. It's going to be bursts.
The other thing I really like that we didn't talk about is I can't remember what's his jump called? His
the
Exo Boost.
Exo Boost.
Like to get away from engagements. Like the biggest issue with a lot of healers outside of like Lucio and potentially Moira is escapability. Like if you don't have anybody to Guardian Angel to, if you're Zenyatta, you're screwed. If you're Ana, you're screwed. Like his exosuit to get to the high ground or just gotta get out quickly is good, and I don't think it has a cooldown from what I saw. I think it's you just hold it and it goes up. And
it doesn't, but let me explain. So
it has a charge up time.
Yeah, but you have to crouch to do it.
Yeah.
So you hold down on crouch, it goes like and then you can jump. So it literally makes like a weird noise. But because you're crouching, you're super vulnerable right before you let go. And it's not like you go like forward very far. It's kind of like Ash shooting at the floor with her whatever Coach the fuck gun. That is. Thank you. Because you kind of go about the same travel distance. It's like this kind of up and a little bit forward, but you're not you're not like zipping off into the future like Reinhardt on a charge.
But it gets you out of line of sight quickly, and it's better than something like a Zenyatta.
It's definitely better than Zenyatta and Ana. Yeah, no doubt. But it definitely like. There's definitely finesse to it because you don't have to hold it the whole way. You can do a smaller jump if you hold it less long, which is interesting.
We need you to try something, or we need to try something when he goes live, because you know that we're going to talk about it later on, but the Lucio speed boost.
Yeah.
Does that affect his jump? Like, does he jump higher if he's speed
not
boost?
Sure.
Like D.Va's bomb goes across the map now.
Yeah. No, I'm not sure.
Oh my god, that clip from Blase.
Yeah.
That was hilarious. Hilarious.
So,
alrighty.
But I'm curious about that. Like with having a Lucio with him, whether that will help, because Lucio is obviously the one who tries to get everybody out of the engagements as quick as they can.
Yeah.
If shit goes down.
I would love to see Baptiste jump the whole map with a Lucio. I think that would be amazing. Okay, so they did some. I'm not going to go over every single update in the patch for time's sake, but also because it's not
3
that
pages.
Important. There's a lot. There's a lot going on. They did do a little bit of changes to some armor stuff. Some beam type damage is now reduced by 20% when hitting armor, and damage over time effects are no longer mitigated by armor, which is good for the Ashes of the world. Knockback distance is now more consistent. Heroes that are flying can now be knocked back and slowed, which means that now Lucio's boops apply to D.Va, and apparently so does his speed amp as well, as we just kind of pointed out. So that was kind of cool. Alrighty, so they nerfed Ana. They nerfed the nano boost from 300 down to 250. Thoughts?
Mm-hmm. I think it's needed.
You think so?
The reason I say that is like 300 is for most tanks is either half or over half of their health, and it's 100% of most DPS characters. And I feel like the nano boost already does damage reduction. So if it's 250 to me is, again, most DPS you're already 250. But like tank wise, that tank, if you're using it to save somebody, that tank should be coming back to you anyway. And I don't think it should be another thing for engagement. I think it's something that needed to just kind of prevent the tanks of the world like me from staying in a fight too long because they fucked up. So,
James?
Well, it's like a thing. I like that they reduced the healing on it because people would purposely go into a fight to nearly die, and then the Ana would fire off the nano boost, and that tank would just destroy you. They still conceivably could do that, but it's going to be a bit easier to at least fight it. Yeah. See, with the 300 health, yeah, that's good on its own. The damage boost is good on its own, but mash both those together, and it's just, it feels a bit cheesy.
Well, it reminds me, you played during the Mega Mercy Res. Tom, I don't think, made it in that era, but like, you would win a fight, and then Mercy would be like, die on point. Okay, Mercy swoops in, we all 5 come back up, and you win the fight.
During it. You couldn't kill her during it.
Yeah, so like, I feel like that, again, the nerf I think is good because it's going to make it where you don't feel like you have to kill somebody twice.
I agree and disagree. I mean I think you guys are right. No, I do, but I don't think Nano is that good. Like I mean I think it's only really good when you combine it with something else, like a blade or.
Do you know how many Reinhardts I've faced where they've been dead and then they come back and just swing twice and your entire team's dead from it?
Dude, I put it on Narisa earlier. I was playing earlier and I put it on Narisa and it saved her ass and we ended up winning the game because of it. Like she was going to die
I stand corrected. I'll let you have
We'll
that.
fight you. Me and James don't agree on much, but we agree
If
on
we're
this.
on the same side.
Okay, let's talk about Doomfist. His rising uppercut and seismic slams have had their cooldowns reduced from 7 to 6 seconds.
I like it.
You like Doomfist, right? You play a bit of Doomfist.
Yes.
Tell me how
I stopped
that
playing him.
feels.
I stopped playing him as much because I felt like there's that weird. So Doomfist is all about getting your cooldowns done right. So you go in, engage, attack, get out. And I feel like when they did the last nerf to him, they kind of made it where you go in, engage, you have to wait a second because your cooldown was like that second too long, and that he's super vulnerable if anything happens that second. Like he dies very quickly. So I like it because you use an ability 99% of the time to get out of a fight. So if I come in and say I go in with the seismic slam, I then punch somebody against the wall, I can then uppercut to get back to the high ground, or now I can uppercut to get back to the high ground, have seismic slam theoretically back to then fly out of the engagement. So I can use three abilities or skills getting into it, and then the one to get out.
Right.
So assuming I've not done it yet, but I'm hoping that's how it feels. Is it's more like a fighter mentality again versus, oh shit, I got to go in and get right back out. Like I have to try and get that one pick, get right back out.
James?
See, I think it's actually good. And normally whenever Doomfist would get buffed, I'd just be like, why? But after they nerfed him last time, like before the nerf, you'd see Doomfist just destroying your entire team. And now, like, you look at Doomfist and you're like, big deal. So it's good to have a character like Gaunt's where it's like you kind of have to be afraid of them, but not like, oh shit, they're going to do this cheese and we're going to die.
I actually fully agree with that point. Yeah, so I'm kind of in exactly the same boat. I remember when he was buffed beyond like normal, reasonable amounts.
It was so much fun. That's when I learned to play him.
It was pretty bad. And then they nerfed him, and I almost felt bad for the guy, or for Doomfist mains anyway. And I was like, you know what? Now he's just like doesn't do a whole lot. So I think you're right. I think this is like the nice balance where the good Doomfists will still be able to do their thing, but the bad Doomfists are still going to have to practice more. Which I think is where you need it to be.
I'm glad they didn't touch his ult because I think his ult's in a good place too. Because they did a mitigation on the circle where he doesn't do as much damage in the large. There's more fall off as you go outside the main circle area, and I like the fact that they did not touch that because I think that's in a good spot where if you hit your point of impact, you're going to get them. If you don't, you don't. Then you got to get out. So I think this is going to make Doomfist way more viable, assuming Goats is officially dead.
Have to wait and see.
You can't Doomfist into Goats.
All right, so I'm going to go over the next few. I'm just going to like call them out, and then we're going to stop at the end to discuss. Okay.
I was gonna say when we get to the other one, I really want to talk about is Wrecking Ball because I think it's the biggest one.
I think you're right on that. All right, so just quick then. So Hanzo's Sonic Arrow, the detection radius has been increased from 7 to 9 meters. Lucio's Sonic Amplifier, the sound wave now counts towards offensive assists. Yay! McCree, Fan the Hammer, damage reduced from 55 to 50. And the Deadeye, damage per second increased from 275 to 550 after locking onto targets for 2.5 seconds.
So here's a question. Hold on. Here's a question about lock-on. Is lock-on when the skull shows up? So is it 2.5 seconds after the skull, or is it 2.5 seconds after you...
If you hold the skull on them for 2.5 seconds, you're getting 550 out of that bullet. Yeah. Cool. May, Endothermic Blaster, primary fire damage increased from 2.25 to 2.75. Ice Wall health reduced from 500 to 400. Moira, Biotic Grasp, heal over time duration increased from 3 to 4 seconds. Total healing increased from 50 to 65. Orissa's Fusion Driver, movement speed penalty while firing reduced from 50% to 30%. Farah Rocket Launcher, minimum explosion damage increased from 16.25 to 20. Soldier 76, Pulse Rifle damage increased from 19 to 20. The sprint delay before you can fire after the weapon, fire the weapon after sprint, is reduced from 0.5 to 0.3 seconds. And Tactical Visor can now target Riptire and Immortality Field.
I didn't know that. Those are important.
Somber Hack. Cooldown is reduced by half when hacking a health pack. And Torbjorn, base health increased from by 50 armor, 250 maximum health. That makes James very sad. Overload, armor gain reduced from 150 to 100. That makes James very happy. Widowmaker, Infrasight now reveals enemy health bars, and it is cancelled on death. And lastly, as you pointed out earlier, Wrecking Ball's Adaptive Shield no longer cancels roll mode.
This is huge.
So let's talk about Wrecking Ball here. Yeah, because I know you're a big Hammond fan, so go ahead.
Dude, I love the hamster. that's a weird sentence to say, but no. So the way you do an engagement as Wrecking Ball is a lot of times you'll swing in, you'll pile drive, you'll shoot, or you'll swing in, you'll pile drive, you'll roll back, hit, in my case on PS4, hit R1, get your shield up, shoot, and then roll out. The fact that you can if you go in, you do your damage, and then you roll out and hit R1 as you're rolling out, you have those shields up, two things happen. One, no character gets ult charge from Hammond's adaptive shield, so it's going to be awesome if you're in the middle of fire to pull it off right then, and then you're getting ult charge, but none of them are for shooting you. And two, survivability. Like, you can stay in engagements a little bit longer, assuming there's no CC and all that kind of stuff, because he gets CC to death when he drops in. But I think like this is a fundamental change to how he's going to be played with how he initiates engagements, and I feel like he's going to stay in fights just a little bit longer, potentially finish off kills. For me personally, I feel like a lot of time I'll get out of there with maybe like 2 or 3 shots left to be able to kill a target if I haven't killed him already. And it's just like, I want to shoot him, but I know I got to get out because I'm going to die because somebody's shot on the way out. So the fact that I can either engage that mobility or that shield while I'm rolling out, or engage it while I'm in the engagement itself and they don't get ult charge and I do. So I'm excited to try this one.
I think Hammond's not been in a great place for a while, honestly. I feel like he's too, me and you were talking about this the other day, James. He's kind of too super hyper specific for a lot of maps. It's like there's certain maps you go, oh yeah, this would be okay for Hammond, but most of the time you're like, that wasn't a great choice. But I think now, if you're it's kind of like Doomfist. Like, if you're good with him, you're going to be really good with him now. Like, what is it? Is it Ameng? What's the dude from Chengdu Hunters?
I don't know, but
who just lives and breathes?
Yeetle is the #1 streamer that is insane on him, and he's so much fun to watch.
So from the Chengdu Hunters, I think it's Ameng is their main tank, who just like refuses to play anyone else except for Hammond, regardless of meta. He's like, no, I want to play the Rolly Hammond boy.
So you're saying I should watch him in a command center on Overwatch League? Yes,
you would enjoy him very much. He's really good too, really good. It almost like stands against like regular Go Comp. Yeah,
it's almost like his job or something,
right? It's like he gets paid to do it. But yeah, what do you think about Hammond's changes, James?
See, I'm in the same boat as you, Tom, where it's like you'd see Hammond and you're like, okay, great, we're gonna lose on your team. You'd see Hammond like, what's he gonna do? Unless it was like Nepal Shrine where he can spin around the thing, or if it's at the like you're trying to stall a point and he's spinning around. That was pretty much at a lot of Elos, all he could do. Pretty much all he could do was just stall out points, and that's all people would use him for. But now he actually might be viable as an off tank sometimes, not a shield tank.
Yeah, I still don't think he should be considered a main tank. A lot of people consider him a main tank. I think that. No.
He's in a weird kind of
like a hybrid,
half main tank, half off tank place.
He can't protect.
But regardless,
other people.
He's gonna be useful.
You know what I mean? Like, that's one thing I feel about a main tank is like you should be able to protect other people with an ability, and I don't think Hammond has that. He can protect himself now, even better now, but like, his shields don't do anything for anyone else aside from himself. So I think that puts him in off-tank territory, to me anyway.
But imagine him in a DPS heavy comp where he doesn't need to protect people as much.
That's true.
He could be more useful in one of those now.
Yeah. Just bang people up and let a Widow headshot him.
As I say, Disruptor. He goes in and just fucks shit up. I love rolling in. Like, one of my favorite points to run him on is I can never remember. I want to say it's Legion. Is it not Gardens? It's the one with the big room.
Control center.
No, it's not. It's the one with the big room outside in the market. Is it market? Market.
Night market.
No, Gardens is the one you're thinking of with the big room outside. Yeah.
Is it?
No,
okay.
It's not.
With the thing in the middle that you swing around?
No, not
Pagoda.
Not the thing in the middle.
No, you're right.
The other one. So what I do a lot of times is I'll come out on the backside because everybody goes through. 99% of the time when I fight somebody, they come through that backside on the initial go point. I'll come through, get my grapple hook ready to go, and just swing through and just knock them off. And I've gotten like 3 or 4 kills, like environmental kills at a time from doing that. And it's a great Hammond point. You just swing through there. And then what's really cool is his pile drive. So if you get booped off like Lucio, you can grab the side, swing up, and you pile drive and land back on the ground. So it's like that's one of my favorite maps. And I, like you guys said, I feel he's very map specific. There's maps I will probably never play Hammond on unless I'm just kind of messing around with them. One that comes to mind would be like, I guess I do play him a little bit on Anubis, but even then, like, it's only first point, second point, not as much because you have stuff to grapple to, but getting away is a bit tricky there. Yeah. So I'm hoping viability wise this makes him last a little bit longer.
Anything else that stood out as far as the other guys that we mentioned there?
Sombra.
Okay,
Yeah.
let's talk about
Torbjorn thing.
Sombra first, Keegan, and then Torbjorn after. Go ahead.
I hated playing Sombra, having to wait there till my thing was back to be able to hack somebody else. Like it's a quality of life thing more than anything else. Like I feel like hacking a health pack should not be affected the same as hacking a human or hacking a player.
That's fair.
Because the health pack, a lot of times, 99% of the time it's in a safe area that I translocated back to. Versus when I'm hacking a human, I'm in a more dangerous area, and I have more reward for that risk. Versus a health pack is less risky. I shouldn't have to wait to then go back in to engage with the team.
What would be the cooldown on hacking the planet?
Captain Planet.
Okay. And Torbjorn. Let's talk about Torbjorn.
I want to talk about the Sombra thing.
Oh,
first.
sure. Go ahead.
I have an opinion on it. As I think it's really good because previously, because of the cooldown being the same for hacking a person or a health pack, previously, if you were in a fight, you'd only hack the health pack before the fight, and then there'd be no point other than that. Now, there might actually be a point. You might actually do some damage on someone, hack the health pack, and kind of wait there for them to go for it and hack them again. You actually have incentive to hack health packs during the fight to help your team or to hinder the enemy team now. So it gives Sombra just a little bit more utility. It's not like a huge change, but it's quality of life.
A little bit of extra viability. Yeah. Not that she's not viable. I mean, she's pretty entrenched in the meta right now, actually, which I think is an interesting side point, but we'll get into that later. And then Torbjorn, then. What's your thoughts on Torbjorn?
My thought about the Torbjorn thing is that the extra armor, that's kind of annoying, but he's going to be able to not use that get out of jail free card overload as powerfully anymore. And that was my big problem for Torbjorn, is he'd get him solo, and then he'd just pop overload and run away. Yeah. And he'd survive, and he could do that as many times as he wanted almost.
Like a tiny little demon gnome that he is.
Bertrand's going to be upset about that one.
But as long as you get that base armor down, he's not going to be able to do that as effectively anymore. Like he's still going to be able to do it, just if you focus him more. It's going to be easier to take him down.
What did you guys think about the Widowmaker one that reveals enemy health bars and cancelled on death?
That's a good balance.
Didn't it already revealed locations, not health bars? Before.
Yeah, so now you can see who's low, kind of like Sombra's passive. You can see who's low. I think it makes it more powerful for sure.
I also like the cancel on death because it makes it so Widow can't do something stupid.
I wish Junkrat's Tire would cancel on death. I understand it doesn't, but it would be better if it did, because then he'd have to hide better instead of just like doing it around the corner or whatever. Yeah,
I actually think that would be a bit too much of a nerf to him.
Think so?
Personally, yeah.
I don't think there can be enough, frankly.
Because he literally can do nothing to save himself.
Dude, the Junkrat
let's move
damage
into this,
that they've got going on now. Whoo, buddy.
Alrighty, so speaking of which, let's leave that patch and let's go to the next one. This is just a quick one, so we won't take up too much more time in this area, but they did actually mess with Baptiste, Junkrat, Zarya, and Lucio, and Doomfist for that matter. So with Baptiste, this biotic launcher, this is just fresh today, can now be stopped from automatically reloading by switching the automatic reload option to off. This option defaults to on, which is weird sort of thing. I'm not even sure why that was a problem. Immortality Field made significant changes to its visual appearance and sounds, which I think was worth it.
Have you guys seen it yet? See what it looks like?
I've been avoiding everything about it, remember?
It looks like, picture like going to a concert and just having one of those things in the middle of the arena, just light beam shooting out of it. It's like in a dance club now. You can't miss it.
Is it?
I don't like that you can't see, kind of, but you can't see the edge. You can't see the edge as well, I don't think. So I think it's gonna be harder for people that are outside on your team to know where to be to get into it versus before it was literally a cylinder. Yeah. So I'm curious to kind of see how that is gonna change how much people can survive just knowing where the order is.
So for Junkrat, frag launcher impact damage changed from 60 to 50, and the rip tire cost increased by 10%. Since the recent increase to frag launcher's damage output, Junkrat has been building his ultimate too quickly. We're increasing the cost of his ultimate to balance this change with his increased damage dealing capabilities. So they're bringing him back a little bit because he was super OP there for a minute. He still kind of is, but they are reining it in a little bit, which I thought was an interesting sort of change to it. I always thought rip tire was way too fast to build to any like half decent Junkrat. If you watch Overwatch League or whatever, like those guys would build their tire in less than 30 seconds in some games. It was ridiculous. So there's that.
I had a game last night where I built 3 tires in one fight, and that was before this.
Sounds
Zarya.
like me playing Break.
Zarya, particle cannon. Alternative fire's explosion radius changed to 2 meters regardless of energy levels. Because that used to be like, it would go from 1 to 2 meters depending on her energy levels. Now it's 2 meters regardless, which I think is a small but relevant fix. And then the Doomfist ones, these are actually bug fixes. So more so than nuffs or burfs. Buffs or nerfs. Doomfist fixed a bug that caused Doomfist to not lose his upward jumping movement when using Rocket Punch while in the air, and fixed a bug that caused Doomfist to not move while using Rocket Punch if he was recently knocked back, which is whatever. Here's the special important one, guys. Lucio fixed a bug where Lucio's wall jump speed was lower than expected. Yes.
That was a bug?
They nerfed him too hard, man. They took all the fun out of him. He was slow as shit. So yeah, they rolled that back a little bit and made him.
Can we also talk about the bug fix for the immortality shield under the payload? Because I saw a couple people that just tossed it under the payload.
So yeah,
I was like, that's got to be broken.
You could stick the immortality field under a payload, and then no one could shoot it. They did fix that as well. That's a valid point. Thank you for that. All right. So
there's also your patch. I'd like to point out, this is a funny one. Fixed a bug where Baptiste's immortality field prevented death in out of bounds areas.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I saw that actually. There was a video.
I want to see that.
So
I need to go back and see that.
There was someone playing like No Limits, where it was on a 0 cooldown, and they went outside the Hanamura map and just like survived. Because they just went from immortality field to immortality field, and they were just wandering around in the wilderness. It was fucking insane. But yeah, I could see that being a problem. Kind of like when they had to change a bunch of Symmetra's teleport locations. It was always like Symmetra teleport bug fix, where you could teleport to an unintended location. Every single patch update had at least one of those on it. So that's your sort of updates. I was going to go into the secret door thing. I'm not going to bother. There's supposedly a secret door in Paris. There you go. But the patches, I think, are the most relevant thing to talk about this week, since there has been quite a few. And as we sort of mentioned before, a lot of them seem to be sort of focused on not necessarily killing goats, but at least giving people viable alternatives to goats, which I think is kind of what they're trying to do. So hopefully we'll get to see how that actually works in Overwatch League. Speaking of Overwatch League, now it's time for some Overwatch League news. So with Overwatch League, what I wanted to talk about, a couple things. First of all, let's talk about Defran. So
I can't stand the dude.
People have a lot of opinions on Defran. I think both of yours are the same. But so Defran recently, he was on a match. It was in Hollywood, and he did this Reddit level streamer sensibility move where the dude jumped over a rooftop in Hollywood and dropped a grav on an entire team. Yes, he did not get a whole lot of value out of it. I mean, they won the fight, but it wasn't like there wasn't a lot going on with it, really. It wasn't like, oh my god, mind-blowing, no one's ever done that. People have done it. But the important part that I wanted to point out here was that no one had ever really done that type of shit in Overwatch League. And I know there's like reasons why they put bans on people like doing certain things on roofs and stuff, and they actually lifted a few of those. But Defran is a guy who comes from a streamer background. He comes from this background of having to entertain people. He's wildly successful as a DPS player. Like his fucking tracking is insane. And he is not afraid to do crazy shit in the middle of Overwatch League. The guy rolled out Torb on the first match he ever played on the stage. And it was a last second change that was made in the fucking waiting room before they went out. They were like, you should go Torb. And he was like, let's go, dude. And then they just ran out with Torb. So, and he fucking wrecked as well. So what do we think about that particular move by Defran on the Hollywood rooftop, but also the fact that, and this is weird, so Blizzard stopped Action Esports, which is like another esport thing, from showing that as a highlight, but Blizzard never used it as a highlight on the official OWL. ESPN used it as a highlight, but Blizzard did not use it as a highlight on OWL. Why? Why do you think? And also, did you like it? Let's go Keegan first.
I remember watching it live because I was watching the stream that was going on. First of all, can I say that I was super happy that D.Va and Monte Cristo were the casters for that because they are my favorite casting duo.
Oh, I hate them.
They're back and forth from like League of Legends and they're hyped. Their Shoutmaster stuff, like I get that. D.Va gets me hyped every time. But anyways, like you said, I feel like from a value standpoint, he didn't get a lot out of it. I think it was definitely more showmanship. But I also at the same time, these are the best players in the world. Like I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it from a competitive standpoint. Obviously, his team was all on board because they had they had a Lucio up there with him, so they knew it was going to happen. So they were all on board with it. But like, is that the optimal use for your ability at that time? I could see something like this potentially being like the All-Star game or stuff like that, where people don't take it as seriously. But it was cool to watch. Don't get me wrong. Like I was like, oh shit, did he just do that? Oh yes, he did. Because it takes a lot of skill to do that double Zarya grenade to get over and then grab, and then he didn't die when he landed. So
and he nailed the grab too. He did nail it.
It was cool to watch. Again, from like a gameplay perspective, I'm like, it didn't really do much. It did let them push the cart through that first point a little bit easier, I guess, once the gates opened. But I don't know. I enjoyed watching it, but from gameplay standpoint, I didn't really do much for the match. It was like a 360 dunk in a basketball game. It all counts as 2 points.
Well put, James.
So my thoughts are somewhat similar, but I have a bit more to add to it. Firstly, I'd like to point out that graph was nuts. It was really cool. Didn't get much done. But here we go. How much time did it take them to set that up? Half their team, like I watched the clip, half their team was still standing in the choke. They could have easily gotten picked during that, and then it would have been meaningless anyway. They all had to go up that lift. That takes time. It wasn't even something where it's like, we have to get the cart like 1 meter and we win. It wasn't even that situation. It was on their first push. The other team hadn't even done their attack yet. It just seems like you could have done the same thing with just a normal grav. Like, why go through all that trouble? Like, it was so high risk, high reward, and they got like 1 kill off the grav, which in this meta is huge. But when you get a grav, you want it to be like a team kill. You want it to be a surefire thing. I just think it wasn't that. It was showy. It was really cool to watch. Didn't really do much.
So you guys are kind of on the same boat.
I feel like it was more of a time investment than it needed to be. You could have just gone up to them and slapped it on the ground and done the same thing, basically.
But do you think, so to counter it a little bit then, to play devil's advocate, because honestly, I don't have a horse in the race of Defran. I think he's a good player, but I don't give a shit about Atlanta Reign. No offense to Atlanta Reign fans. They're not my team. But like, so to me, this echoes a lot of basketball stuff, right? It echoes like how basketball was all about mechanics, team play, passing. That was the original like NBA. And then you have guys that come into the fold like Larry Bird or MJ, just those kind of players that are so good, they kind of feel like they can fuck around a little bit, right?
Vince Carter is the dunk master. Like he took dunking to a whole nother level in the NBA. Right.
And you have like just these players that stand out, not necessarily like they're still team players. Like Defran is not a team player. He plays with a team great, and no one thought he was going to. But do you think that there's a certain level of showmanship that is just worth the fact that the only thing you get out of it is the fact it's fun to watch?
It's a competition.
True.
That's what I'm going to say. It's a competition. At the end of the day, these people are fighting for Overwatch League glory. They're not fighting for who looked the best. It's not a fashion show. Personal opinion. People are going to hate me in the comments for that, I'm sure. But personal opinion, it's a competition. Do you see NYXL trying crazy stuff like that? No, they're sticking to their plans. They're adapting where they need to. It's not always super showy, but it's always super tight.
You do what it takes to win, and if you want to do what it takes to entertain, you entertain people on the live stream.
That's what you think?
Yeah. The entertainment for Overwatch League is watching the best players in the world play the game and see the crazy headshots. Like, to me, I get more excited when Carpe fucking pops like 4 heads in a row than anything else, because that is nuts. Because there's very few people in the world that could do that
at that
consistently.
Level. Yeah.
Consistently. And it's just like, okay, that's cool. Versus like this to me felt like a meme moment. And I also want to point out, like, because I didn't really answer the second question of what I think about Blizzard not letting them show it, is I feel like Blizzard, if you guys have noticed this year, have you guys noticed on introductions they don't do the crazy intros anymore?
Yeah.
I wonder if Blizzard had a say in that, because I feel like it's turning into more professional. in the sense of like you can't have as much fun. Like that's why I love basketball and stuff like that. It's like, yeah, let LeBron James do the baby powder because that's LeBron James.
Here's the thing about that. I did say, yeah, it's a competition. It still needs to be a bit fun. They need to balance that, I find.
Competition starts when the game starts. Anything beforehand, you should have a lot of fun.
Which is why it's a point we're going to get to later, but the players kind of being showy after they get kills. I'm actually kind of okay with that, depending. There's a whole bunch of stuff. We'll get to it later. But it's weird. They still have a bit of fun. Like when Philadelphia Fusion walked out for the first match, Gritty walked in ahead of them, and that was pretty cool. So they're still doing some of those things. But
Dallas Fuel hasn't done anything this year. And they were the ones last year known for it.
Yeah, but Dallas Fuel is a very different team now.
I wonder if Jane had a say in that. I wonder if Jane was like, you guys need to cut the shit and just start playing better, like where that kind of came from. Because they did do a little bit of a flipping attitude. It also might be
personalities. Like James said, that roster is basically a whole new roster.
Yeah,
you don't have Taimu, you don't have Seagull, which I'm sure I know Taimu's a big jokester. So.
So one thing I did want to add there, just to back up Defran a little bit. Like I said, no horse in this race, but I wanted to back him up a little bit. He currently, at the time of that I wrote these notes anyway, has the most final blows per 10 minutes in the entire league, at 8.5 final blows per 10 minutes. He does 10,857 damage per 10 minutes, which is rank 9 in the league, but his actual final blows is number 1 in the league currently. So
he only does 35.29 healing though, man.
Yeah, he doesn't play a whole lot of healers, but but it's kind of interesting to me. Like, we talk about how that was like a showy thing, but it's not like he does that shit all the time. Like, he broke that one out as kind of like a fun thing to do, but like when he's just playing to play, the dude has the most final blows in the entire league, and you can't be mad at that. Like, he is a phenomenal player, and I think that a lot of where Atlanta Reigns fans come from, let's be honest, like most Atlanta Reign fans are just fucking Defran fans, and maybe Dogman too, because they're both from that streamer culture.
That's how I chose the Fusion. To follow the Fusion was based on the roster,
right? But
because there's no team in St. Louis.
There's kind of this interesting cross of streamer culture and Overwatch culture now, where it almost seems like it's like they're actually looking at streamers more seriously, because it felt like for a while there they weren't really necessarily looking at these top streamers and being like, oh, we should get them on an Overwatch team. They kind of just assumed they were going to be ladder players, and they would pick people that were like actually playing competitively in contenders and trials and things like that. But I feel like now, especially since Defran and Dogman, like they're just kind of like they're looking
Jeffrey's
at that.
Doing contenders.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it as well is a concern, because Defran had a bit of drama around him when he started XQC. He's been there and back and there and back, and he's all over the damn place. But I think it's kind of interesting that they have this this more openness now, and I guess it was with the expanded rosters. They just needed to fill them, but it's kind of interesting that they started picking these guys up. Speaking of, let's say showmanship, the other thing I wanted to talk about as far as the professional level Overwatch is, I want to say trash talking. So let's go with that. So recently there was a spat, between Jane and Carpe, where Jane basically said that after watching London and Philly in the first match that they had trash goats, and then Carpe came back with, you're going to get beaten by trash goats, and they did not get beaten by trash goats. Trust me, guys. We're all really sad about that here. We're all Philly fans. But you know what? We kind of deserve that for talking shit when our roster was all over the place, and it just, it is what it is. And then there's some more serious stuff that kind of went on. So I wanted to point this out a little bit. So we had Dogman. So a person in the crowd at one of the events at the Burbank said, Dogman just pulled his mic away from his mouth and yelled, "Cruz is a feeder," to the crowd. This is the kind of banter and trash talk we need, boys. #AL2019. And then Neptuno jumped in a little later and said, when I handshaked, word Neptuno, when I handshaked Dogman after winning Atlanta, he told me, "You got farmed," which I didn't reply anything. Now he is calling Cruz a feeder. This guy has balls. And then actually Dogman replied to that, "It's all in fun, my friend. I respect the tweet." And it has like the smiley face with a sweat tear coming down and like a fist bump. And Neptuno says, "I respect your balls." And then Cruz says, "People caring about dogs' trash talk, please don't. it's fine. Just concentrating on fixing our issues at the moment and focusing on making playoffs. Not got time to care about pointless shit. He then went on to say, I can't believe I have to clarify this. I think trash talking is fine. Laugh my ass off. And what Dogman did is 100% fine. It makes the games more spicy. Always better to do it before the game, though. Everyone can trash talk when you've already won/winning. It's okay, friend. We both meet up at the playoffs. Okay. And finally, Dogman put a hat on the whole thing by saying, I will say on the matter of trash talking, I only do it in sport. I think more people should do it, and by all means trash talk me when I get wrecked. It's all so much fun, to be honest. Owl is like a dream come true. So what are our thoughts on that? Let's go James first this time.
Okay, so I actually have an interesting viewpoint on it. Firstly, I think it's kind of douchey. I'm not going to lie. It is kind of douchey to trash talk. But that being said, if you're not insulting the person, like being racist or homophobic or doing whatever, it's psychological warfare, which is fair game. If someone actually has their game affected by that, by psychological warfare, then they should really get that sorted. That's on them. So it's this kind of balance thing where I think if you feel like the need to do it, I think you kind of need to realign your priorities a bit. But also, I mean, even when I'm playing Overwatch, I spam voice lines when I get a big play. Like, everyone does it. It's a thing. It's a thing in the culture. And if you can't deal with it if you can't deal with it when it's not like someone actually insulting you, like saying racist stuff or homophobic stuff or what have you, like, what's your thing? If it's racist and homophobic, yeah, absolutely, it shouldn't be happening. But if it's like this, big deal. Like, if you can't deal with that, you shouldn't be in Overwatch League, probably.
Alrighty. Keegan?
I'm very similar to James on this sense. I played sports growing up. One of my favorite players in the NBA, and I'm sure Tom's familiar with him, is Kevin Garnett. Kevin Garnett is known for epic trash talk. Kind of like James, though.
Minnesota Timberwolves, is that right?
And Boston Celtics.
Hey,
he won a championship with Boston Celtics.
I knew something.
But as long as like James said, as long as you're not being offensive about it and it's like game based, I have no issue with that because it's part of the game. Like James said, if you get in somebody's head, you're doing your job. Like that's why I used to trash talk on the basketball court, or I trash talk like playing soccer. Is you're getting in that person's head. Like, it's just what you do, and I have no issue with it as long as it doesn't cross those certain lines I think if they do, Overwatch League will step in and say, hey, don't do this.
XQC last year.
Yeah. I think the only concern I have with this is the fact that he did it to the crowd, because usually trash talks between the players, and the fact that he yelled it to the crowd, I think is kind of disrespectful. Again, it's kind of, if you do it on Twitter, though, is that they're still shouting to the crowd. But if you say it to each other, if you do it in game, whatever, like, fine. I personally have the issue of trying to get that mob mentality on him of like, then he feels like shit because what was it, Cruz feels like shit already because he's not playing well. Or I assume he's not playing well because he's told he's a feeder. So things like that. So I don't have an issue with it per se, as long as it doesn't cross those certain lines. I think it's actually a lot of fun. I think it will get people hyped up. One of my favorite NBA, again, basketball moments, Spike Lee, Reggie Miller. Best interaction ever was during that series where Spike Lee would make fun of Reggie Miller. Reggie Miller came back, hit a bunch of big shots, and then went up and gave Spike Lee the choke.
That gift.
So
that
I love that because it was like that's them going back and forth, and he's like, and they both took it great. They both understood what it was. And it's not anything personal. It's just like, hey, you're giving me shit. Watch this. I'm going to one up you. And I think that's what sports is trying to one up the next person. So
a couple things to bring to mind here. One is that on a basketball field, court. Thank you. Spot the English guy. So on a basketball court, you're next to the person, right? So you can trash talk directly to their face, which I think is different in this case because, like you pointed out, I mean, I know they can't hear each other. So, like, and they're across the stage, right?
Yeah,
I mean, maybe if they left the text chat up, which I think would be hilarious, actually, but they can't physically do that. So, to an extent, I can see that. Yeah, like. I mean, at least he did say it to his face after the game. It wasn't like he was hiding it. He's saying you were being, if anything, it's kind of like constructive criticism, right? But yelling at the crowd, I think, is a little meh. I mean, it's kind of cool to get him pumped up a little bit, but you don't have to necessarily, like, shit talk someone else. I have weird feelings about it. I don't like trash talking in any game. So that's a personal thing. It's an English thing, I think. So we just, I don't know, we're a bit less brash, I think, when it comes to our sports. So it's, I
bit less brash. You
I don't
guys
know.
have like riots when you guys lose in soccer or football.
Fighting somebody is different to trash talking them. Guys,
Yeah, you
okay?
punch them, it's fine. They should just duke it out at the end of the game.
That's real words, with your
I really like the Jane Carpe situation. I think is a perfect example of trash talk done right, where Jane was like,
at the end,
trash
she
goes,
kind of
Carpe's like,
apologized.
watch it. And then if Carpe, I guarantee if they had won, Carpe would have said something. They didn't. Jane actually didn't say anything until somebody brought it up again.
They brought him on stage. They brought Jane on stage.
That's what I'm saying. He wasn't.
But he did apologize. Why didn't he apologize? I should take that back. Jane doesn't apologize. What he did was he basically said, Carpe, I think you're an amazing player with an amazing future. And he kind of gave him all these compliments. And he was like, I look forward to our next thing. And like that to me is like, okay, that's like the perfect end. And I would have been mad at Jane if he didn't do that. I'll be honest. Because I like Jane a lot. I would have been mad if he didn't do that. But I think he handled it like a gentleman, and it did make it spicier. Like, I felt stake in that match, and as a Philly fan, that kind of sucked, I definitely was paying more attention to it than I perhaps would have done. So that's interesting. Now, here's a case of where I wonder whether it went too far. So Neko teabagged or tactical crouched Aim God, his ex-Boston dude, and even hits him with a Boston spray afterwards, and then proceeded to kick the spray with his big Zenyatta clawfoot afterwards. So is that too far, or is that still in the realms of like good humor?
The question I have there is, did he do it because of the player, or did he do it because of the team?
I don't know. I don't know what his
because of the team,
thoughts were.
Because Boston has some issues right now, I think, internally from a management standpoint, not necessarily player standpoint, but for the management. Like, look at what happened with Fusions. Look at kind of how the turnovers happened there with a few players. I mean, let's not forget about the Dreamcasper situation in season 1. That was
Dreamcasper.
That was his fault. That was Dreamcaster's fault, not necessarily management's fault. But the management, I don't think, ever really said anything about it, as far as I remember. Outside of like, oops.
Just kind of politely kicked him to the curb.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Kind of like shoved him aside like that. It didn't happen. So if it's directed at his old team, I think it's a different thing than if it's directed at Aim God. I don't know the context behind it. I saw the clip of him doing it. I don't know what the context of it is outside of him just killing him. If there's something else, like they'd been going back and forth a little bit.
They had been doing it. Well, Neko had been doing it consistently for the whole match, but there was one particularly bad one where he like did it with the spray and everything as well. So I don't know if it was like you said, if it was bad blood between Aim God and Neko or Neko, however the fuck you pronounce that dude's name.
Neko.
But I don't know if it was a bad blood thing or whether it was just like you said, like a fuck Boston thing, because a lot of ex-Boston players, have been playing Boston, Shanghai Dragons, and, wrecked them and then probably felt pretty good about it, right? So I don't know if it's just kind of like, fuck you for letting me go, or whether it's you took my spot because I'm Zen and you're Zen, or whatever it was. But it just kind of, it felt weird to me. James, what's your take?
And, okay, so here's the thing. Boston's my number 2 team this season. So this will make the next thing I say pretty interesting. I think it's fine. I think it was totally fine. It gives Boston motivation. Hey, our old person beat us and totally frigging embarrassed us. Let's go get him next time. Let's fix our stuff and work together. And when Boston's working together, they work really well. I think Fusions is amazing. I'm glad that he's in the league this season, and I can't wait to see him develop even more. And when Boston gets their stuff together, they're going to be great. And this is motivation. I think this will be motivation for them because they're like, our old players are destroying us. Let's fix this. I think it was perfectly fine. It was a bit extra, but I mean, in Overwatch League, sometimes it's balancing being really good and being a bit extra.
So how would you compare the extra seconds spent teabagging and spraying a Boston flag and kicking it to the extra seconds spent riding an elevator to throw a grav over a rooftop?
Before fight versus after fight.
Okay, that's
he
a
did it
fair
after
answer.
the fight when it was already pushing. They spent all that time before a fight setting up something that they didn't know was going to work.
Perfect. That's a good answer. I was just wanted to see what you'd say to that.
I'm really cool if a lot of players do a thing where after they make a big play, they do something.
Yeah.
They were doing something before, so that's a completely different situation.
Fair
like
case.
Muma, when he knocks someone off the map, he gives a wave, and I do that myself in the game. I got it from Muma. Thanks, Muma. But yeah, it's a different kind of idea.
So before we move on, can we talk about that crazy, nasty headshot Shaz hit through the door? Did you guys see that?
I did not see that. Tell me about it.
You need to look it up. So I can't remember who it was trying to run it. So the fight had ended, and I think it was it was either Lucio or Zen trying to get away back to his team so he didn't die. And it was on Hollywood Second Point, and it was like, you know where the bridge goes across the top? It was through that doorway on the left, back towards their spawn. And he'd gone around by the Mega and wrapped around the back to his team. And Chaz just does a alt fire, hits. I think 3 of them were headshots and kills them, and the whole crowd just fucking erupts. Like, getting back to like the Defran play, like, I got more excited about that play than I did Defran's play because of the skill it took to hit it through a hole, no joke, like that big, and he timed it perfectly. And even the casters were like, "What the fuck? How did he do that?" Like, it was like moments like that again, similar to like Carpe popping off or anybody doing something nasty. And he's like, "Man, that took a lot of skill." Defran's, I don't think took skill. I think anybody could have done what Defran did if they tried hard enough.
Carpe popping off in that match where he switched from Zarya to Widow for like
at the very end,
8 seconds and just decapitated like 4 people, and then depressingly switched back to Zarya after he murdered everybody. Switched back, and I was like, "Oh no, you were so good. Just stay Widow. It'll be fine."
Because they got shields.
Yeah, that's actually been one of my favorite moments of the season so far. Okay, so I mean, Owl is ticking along. Season 2 in general has been pretty spicy, don't you think? It's been pretty fun with the new teams.
There's no teams that stand out outside of, I think, NYXL that are really, I guess the Vancouver Titans are the other one.
Runaway.
But I feel like
2.0.
a lot of them, like, there's actually a graphic out there of who's beat who and who should be better than who. And
lots of circles.
Somebody put it at the bottom right. He just goes, "Fuck it, I don't know," because I feel, which is good because that means anybody any night can win. Like the Shanghai Dragons went from losing 42 or 43 in a row to winning 2 in a row, and then they almost won a third in a row if they didn't C9 it. That was a horrible C9, but.
Yeah, it's actually, I was so happy for those guys. Like that's exactly what they needed, and and Gamsu has been incredible for them. I
love the fact that they won 2 in a row, so Boston didn't get as much shit for being the first one to lose.
That's one of my biggest fears. When firstly, Boston, their lineup was a mess because they couldn't play fusions due to the contracting, and they had a whole bunch of changes going on. So it wasn't totally their fault, but also Dragons played really well. But as a Boston fan, I was like, I'm really happy for Dragons right now. But one of my teams is about to get freaking dragged on social media. Yeah, they should be able to deal with it. Again, if you can't take the trash talk while you're an owl. I mostly just don't like the community that does that stuff. But again, it's whatever. They're keyboard warriors. They can do what they want. But yeah, I was really happy for Dragons. I'm really happy, especially Gaguri. People are going to stop saying, "Oh, girls can't play Overwatch," and hopefully we'll get more.
I would like to see more. I would like to see more in the league, and I think that now they've expanded, there's definitely more opportunity.
And not token ones who are good, and there's plenty of them out there, don't get me wrong. But they can't be like, "Oh, we're hiring this person just because they're a girl," because that's kind of counterproductive.
Well, they have a lot of... like a lot of the teams now have like official stream partners. So they have like Fran, for example, is working for Atlanta, and Emong, I think, is doing something as well. And Fusion. Yeah, so it's kind of like they have like streamers that just kind of like rep their particular
I think I saw one for another team today. I think
that's cool.
I don't know which team it was. I don't know which team she was streaming for. I forget.
Acid part of Cloud9, but obviously they don't have an Overwatch League team, but she streams for Cloud9.
There was somebody, I don't know who it was. But yeah, go on. Anyway.
So yeah, I mean, just boiling it down, I think that season 2 has been pretty successful so far. I know that Blizzard let a lot of people go before season 2. People were kind of concerned about there being. I will say there has been a lot of pauses. I don't know if you've noticed that, but I feel like almost every other game, there's like a big pause for a while. And they some of the people, there was actually like a guy on Reddit, I think, who worked for Blizzard, and then he posted saying, "Hey, ask me whatever you want about like leaving Blizzard and having worked directly in OWL." And his like the main thing when people said to him like, "What do you think is going to happen now that everyone's been fired?" is he goes, "I think you're going to see a lot more technical issues. I think you're going to see a lot more pauses, a lot more kind of dragging it out." And I know that people haven't been happy with the caster's desk, the way they handle like halftime and stuff now. That's kind of a joke. Dumb. But yeah, I mean, aside from a couple like nitpicky things like that, I think they're doing really well with the new expansion teams. I think they put a lot of life into the league, which is good. Yeah.
I do like the two. I can't remember their names. The two new casters that came up from Contenders. I was upset they didn't bring Johnny, aka Reinforce, back because I'm a big Reinforce fan.
He still works for OWL.
Yeah, he just does other stuff.
He's just not on the
same capacity. Yeah.
It's
but those two new casters, because I watch a lot of Contenders, and it's always cool to have those familiar voices come in. I'm kind of surprised ZP hasn't done it. Who is another one that does?
Apparently, that's something that looks like it's going to happen at some point. ZP and also Lemon Kiwi, I think they're doing a lot more stuff this year.
Her. She does stuff with Jane, and I can't stand her.
The funny thing about the two new casters is like I'm listening to them like, is this Monty and D.Va? I'm like, no. Their voices are very similar, except they're less douchey than Monty. I think Monty's a bit of a dick, personally.
I love D.Va.
I think he's a D.Va I'm okay with. Monty, I think, is a bit... He's brutally honest, but I think he's a bit too brutally honest sometimes.
I need to send you... I watched a documentary on them, too, and kind of their progression and past, and actually what they've done. I'm not going to get into what they've done for esports casters, because they were freelancers when they did League of Legends back in the day, and they basically lost their jobs because they stood for getting paid a decent wage being casters. And they were super excited when Overwatch League came about because they're like, cool, I can make money again. But there's a really cool documentary on some esports YouTube channel. I can't remember the name of it is. And I watched it. It's like 35 minutes. And I was like, man, I had no idea. I just saw Monty and Do, and I was like, the history of them. I don't know what they did.
See, I've always been a big Semler and Hex fan, and I know I get shit on for it.
Semler's gotten better because he knows the game now, at least.
I came from Counter-Strike. And he was a Counter-Strike caster, and he was really good at it. I always enjoyed watching Semler. So it was nice for me, as someone coming from Counter-Strike to Overwatch, to have a familiar voice.
Okay, I can see that. Here's my problem with Semler. Sometimes he'll say something, and it's really a super bad pun, or it's something really, and there's just dead air. Like, Hex doesn't know what to say to it.
That's fair.
That's my biggest problem, Semler. And he still sometimes, like, Hex makes a lot of, like, errors. Like, once he said that D.Va absorbed a sound barrier. I mean, they all do that, but Hex seems to make more of those errors than normal, so I don't really like them. Like, Semler does those things that there's just dead air, and, like, everybody's silent, like, he kind of seems like actually that meme photo of like the old guy going, "Greetings, fellow youths." That's what one of my friends told me the other day. That's the point on Semler.
I think we can all agree though that Uber and Mr. X are awesome. Can we agree on that?
Yep. They're the best.
Okay.
They're not. I would say they're the best. They are
the best.
Della and Monte Cristo are my favorite casting.
For Uber shirts, if nothing alone. For Uber shirts, if nothing alone.
I follow Uber on Twitch, so
he's a good dude.
Australian accent, constantly making. He could make a snail race exciting.
I was upset the Golden Boy wasn't back. I missed that dude.
Maybe he's doing the Titan Games right now with the Rock.
Golden Boy better than Puckett personally. I don't have a problem with Puckett. I liked Golden Boy when he was running the Dust Battle.
It was more.
Let's move along from professional Overwatch for now. We'll get into more of that next time around. But let's talk about personal focus. So with personal focus, what I wanted to talk about was who you've been playing most and why, and also how is Season 15 going for you. So let's start with you, James. Who have you been playing most and why?
So recently, as I've been working on the Reinhardt video, obviously Reinhardt, and I'm still trying to keep my skills up with him. I'm still learning stuff, which is really good because I'm still writing the guide, and there's more stuff that I'm going to put in there. Here's a weird one, though, that you guys wouldn't expect from me, because I'm a support and tank player. I've actually been playing Widow.
Yeah?
I've been playing Widow recently, and it started, there was Petra free-for-all. I'm like, let's try this with Widow. And I was starting to get these crazy headshots. And then I bring her into quick play sometimes, and it's mostly just a fun thing. Like, I'm never going to be able to bring her into comp. Don't get me wrong. I'm not that good. But I will get these, like, moments where it's just like, wow, I just landed 3 headshots in a row. That's crazy. So I think it's a good mechanical exercise for me. I'm also trying to rekindle my D.Va a bit. I've been doing Zarya. Tom has seen my Zarya firsthand. My grabs aren't so great, but my actual base mechanics are pretty good with her. And I'm trying to bring the main tanks back, Winston, Orisa, Reinhardt, and then D.Va, Zarya, and then my support skills. I'm pretty okay on support. I'm just sticking with the 3 that I know the best. Well, 4, being Brigitte, Lucio, Moira, and Mercy. So that's what I've been doing recently. I haven't been touching DPS too much except for Widow. And then I'm just focusing on tanks. The tanks that I like, and the supports that I like.
And how's season 15 been going so far?
It's been quite a mixed bag. Placements were terrible. They weren't like the worst placements ever.
We went 4 and 6 on both. We went 4 and 6 on both.
4 and 6, and I think the other one was a draw.
Oh, we might have had a draw.
5-1-4 or something.
Yeah.
It was something weird, or it was 4-1-5, I think, actually. So the placements were kind of a mess. But I've gotten a bit of SR since then. So after you get through those placements, the placements are kind of a gong show. It's the beginning of the season. Everyone's kind of like, oh, placements are so important, which they're really not.
It's like you get to play QP for 10 games before you get to do comp again.
A little bit. But I've been getting my SR back on my main account. My main account kind of fell a lot last season, but my second account's like mid-diamond, which is where I want it to be. So it's kind of my main account now. But it's been going well since then. I played a couple matches. I lost one, won one. My MMR on my main account's better, so I'm actually getting more per win than I am losing per loss. So that's a good place to be, and it's going okay.
Awesome.
The matches aren't like steamrolls either. I had one that was really close. We actually got matched against a 6-stack earlier, and it went down to the wire. We lost, but it went down to the wire.
Oh, it's nice.
So it was actually pretty good.
And Keegan, I know you haven't placed yet. We're waiting to maybe do that.
We're actually potentially going to do it on a live stream. We haven't decided whether it's always
a bad idea with level 2 to place on stream, but we might do it anyway.
We might do it.
I remember that one time.
Who have you been playing lately, though?
I've been flexing a lot because I tend to play with groups, and it's based on who I'm playing with at the time. Like if I'm playing with David, a lot of times I'm either playing support or tank. If I'm playing with David and Bertrand, it's either I'm probably playing tank or DPS. If I'm playing with you, David and Bertrand, I'm playing tank or DPS. If I'm playing with Brian, you, David and Bertrand, I'm playing whatever the hell Brian doesn't pick. So, but if I go to like pick somebody, it's funny because me and James are very similar right now. Like I play tank is probably the character I feel like. It's going to sound really bad when I say it, but not that I'm the most comfortable with, but I'm confident enough in my ability amongst the people we play with to know that I can get the job done so we can push forward. If that makes sense. Like I understand how tanks work, and that's no knock on anybody else we play with because a lot of them don't play tank, especially main tank. David plays a lot of David's D.Va's actually gotten a lot better, but like when it comes to like playing an Orisa or Reinhardt or Winston, like I feel like of the people I tend to play with, like I have more faith in me than I do them playing it. And
isn't that just Overwatch in general? Everyone always feels like you were saying the other day, James, sometimes I wish I could just, this is a true James quote, everyone.
Oh,
sometimes I wish I could just clone 3 of me to play, and then I think I'd be fine. It's great. Good quote.
So, but if I've been insta-locking people, obviously when Reaper got his buff, I started playing him a lot just to see kind of how that was. And that's a character I never played because David played him a lot growing up, initially when the game came out. When David was growing up.
Overwatch infancy.
Yeah. So I never really played Reaper a lot. I still like D.Va as my comfort food when shit hits the fan. I'm like, fuck it, I'm going back to D.Va. But I haven't played
grabs. That's eating
dude. Grabs is the most satisfying thing. Eating grabs and eating a May Blizzard. Oh, there was one match. There was one match at the end of season 14, and we were on. What was it? Shrine with the pole in the middle on Nepal. We're on
dancing.
I want to say so.
Shrine. Yeah. So we were on that, and we were losing. Like we were trickling back, and it was 99-99. We technically had control of the point, but they had the numbers advantage at that point. And May went to go throw in a blizzard, like right at the edge where we have to come up the stairs. I'm standing in the corner. Like when you go up the stairs, I'm in that corner straight to left. She throws in the blizzard. I eat that. My teammates, I see a Lucio come back, and I see a soldier come back. And then the enemy Zarya decides to throw a Graviton. I eat that. So I eat 2 ults within a span of like maybe 7 seconds. And I go, oh shit, I think we're going to win this.
Every D.Va's favorite word, denied, every time that gets broken out. Awesome.
So I've been doing, like I said, a lot of D.Va, I play a lot of heroes just in general, but I would say D.Va tanks are my go-to. I still want to. I'm working on getting my Lucio skills back up. I had to play him the other day on a map, and oh boy, it's been a while. It's not like riding a bike. He's changed a little bit since I played him.
Mechanically, very difficult. Yeah.
Yeah, and then Ana, I've been trying to get better with because she's the only support that I don't feel comfortable on. I play a lot of Zen just because Discord's so powerful when you're fighting all these bastions. So, yeah, I'm kind of all over the place. I would say, but if I looked at time-wise, it's D.Va, Zarya, and then probably Rhine, and then supports.
Cool. Me personally, I did my placements with James, so I'm in the same boat. I'm not a mid-diamond player, unfortunately. I'm currently low to mid-plat, working my way up.
But I was 495 the end of last season, which makes me upset.
That's okay. We'll get you up, buddy. Don't worry. But I have been playing. So I was commenting on this to I think both of you the other day, where I have this weird thing where, like, sometimes when I start playing, like I have certain characters that I feel comfortable with, and that I feel like you said, are comfort food. But they suddenly don't feel like comfort food anymore. It's like you try because you know you're comfortable with that character, but you still get crushed, and you think like, shit, like, am I playing bad, or is this just not viable in this particular match, or like what is it?
You played Mercy last night?
I did try playing Mercy. I was terrible, but
no offense.
So it's okay. So I play a lot of Moira, and I was pretty, like, I started off playing some Moira this season. I was like, I'm just going to stick to what I know. I got crushed as Moira, which makes me sad. Reinhardt, I played a lot of Reinhardt last season. Started a little bit of that. Again, I held my own, but I still would be losing. And actually, there's only one character so far this season that I have felt perfectly comfortable with and felt like I've done a good job every single match, and that is Lucio. That is actually Lucio. I've been playing so much Lucio. I now have the switching between healing and speed kind of on, like, just autopilot, I guess you could say. Like, I just do it without even thinking about it. Like, I know when to switch, which was always my biggest problem. Like, wall riding was fine. Like, aim it's pretty easy with Lucio once you get used to it. But it was always like okay, when do I need to be doing what? And that was kind of the part that always threw me off. But now I just kind of have this rhythm with him where, like, I know exactly when I need to be doing what, and it's kind of worked out a lot. I've gotten a lot of cards and plays of the game, and won a lot of matches. Like, he's definitely got my highest win rate right now this season. And I feel like he's viable on so many levels and so many comps. He's never a bad pick, even if you have like you have like a lesser healing partner with Lucio, like a Zen or something. I still feel like I can put out enough healing to counterbalance like the lesser healing pick. So I don't feel like I have to be partnered with a Moira or a Mercy or an Ana. But I've had so much fun with Lucio this season, so I'm going to keep pushing with him and see how he takes me this season. I am going to be working on a guide for him as well. We just finished the Moira guide, so I feel like I don't necessarily have to play her as much as I have been. And I also feel like she kind of loses momentum at this level anyway, so may as well start transitioning over to someone that's a bit more viable. Been looking to inspiration for, like, with Cruz and Big Goose and Neptuno and those guys, and feeling pretty comfortable right now with Lucio. So that's been my my go-to. Cool. Alrighty.
Can I just say one thing?
Oh, go on.
Just on the podcast, for the record, you guys don't hear play sessions like when Tom and I play, but I feel so bad for Tom. Sometimes he'll use, and I'll be like, why did you do that? And I just start yelling. Like, why would you do that right then? I'm trying to make him a better player, but I feel like
internalize everything.
I feel like I'm doing the thing Keegan does, except I'm actually saying it out loud, where I'm just kind of like being brutally honest. I'm not like being like, okay, just don't do that next time. I'll say it or something like that.
I did it to Tom. There was a match we played, and I said something. He was like, "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to be an ass about that." I can't remember what it was, but I was like, "Why, Tom? Why?" I'm sure I've done the same thing. The
person I do it to, because I know Tom's not gonna like take it too seriously. But like, I never
this
used
is
to be
all
like
true.
that. I just keep it internalized. Like, But with Tom, I feel like he'll actually take it constructively, although I will admit I am a bit too harsh sometimes.
Hey, it's all constructive.
My favorite Tom moment to me, I think I was playing Reinhardt or something, and I charged in, and you go, I can't heal your dumbass in there. Come back here, something like that. And I was like, oh, I screwed up.
The best one from the other night was when I got a Reinhardt in a room, and Tom was like, he was there with me as Lucio, and then he went away, and I'm like, why'd you leave me? And I died. I died to this Reinhardt, even though I had him one tick. I was like so frustrated. I'm like, why'd you leave me?
I can't be all the places all the time, okay,
This
guys?
is true. I've been trying to get your awareness up, though.
Yeah, my short-term awareness is terrible.
If you get your awareness up, you would be really good.
Thank you.
And that's the one thing I've said to you for a while now.
It's a big problem. My awareness is for shit, but also James can attest to this.
Knowing what heroes we have,
I forget who he is. I forget who he is. Like half the time, I have no idea.
He actually was like, "Why? You need to come back. You're critical health." I'm like, I'm Lucio. I thought you were D.Va.
You just get used to certain people playing certain roles, and you forget. Anyway,
I did that the other night. I did that the other night to David. I was like, well, I think it was with you playing. I was like, what the hell are you doing? Oh, that's not you. Or I'll do it and I'll say it about him, and it was him. I was like, oh.
So that's the thing that happens to me regularly. I get yelled at by both of these gentlemen. But it's fine. It's all to become a better player. It's standard. I'm comfortable with it, and you have to be comfortable with it if you want to get good, kids. So moving on from my personal failures to our special end of the podcast, which is where we focus and do a deep dive on something about Overwatch. That could be a hero, a map, or whatever. And we're going to be doing a swan dive into Miss Hannah Song, otherwise known as D.Va. So D.Va, the reason why I picked D.Va to begin with is because she's on the far left of the hero select screen. Yes, it's that simple. That's exactly why I chose her. But also, I know Mr. Power here is a big fan of D.Va, was a D.Va main for a very long time. That's how you first got up to those super high levels. And I know that
it's literally just one trick.
D.Va is your comfort food, Keegan, so I figured you would be good with this as a first pick.
Can I tell you that you told me that D.Va was a 16-year-old? She's 19. She's legal. I said she was hot the other night.
I said she was a teenager. 19 still has the word teen in it, Keegan.
Yeah, but 19 to me is not that long ago. That's less than 10 years, Tom.
Yeah, you're a baby. I'm 36. It's bad for me. And I think it was Bertrand that was calling her hot, and he's like 40-something.
Well, no, he's 36. He's the same age as you.
Is he? I forget. He looks older.
Yeah, you forget.
It's because he's got the Rob Zombie thing going on.
I'm a be 28 and probably when this comes out.
Yeah. Congrats.
I'm glad to survive a year.
Anyway, D.Va. Yeah, so let's talk about D.Va a little bit. I'm going to go over some of her kind of Wikipedia entry. We'll stop on a few points, and then we'll go over some stuff, because I know that you've been harboring some stuff you wanted to talk about, James, and we also have some questions for everybody. So D.Va is former professional gamer who, by the way, does anyone know what game she played?
StarCraft.
Yeah. Yeah.
A Blizzard game.
She's a former professional gamer who now uses her skills to pilot a state-of-the-art mech in defense of her homeland. She's a very competitive individual, Keegan, and coupled with her pro gamer skills, this makes her an extremely effective mech pilot. Never backing down, D.Va always plays to win. While she projects a carefree, irreverent attitude, D.Va is burdened by the emotional cost of defending her homeland and the facade the South Korean media projects on her. In addition to skills as a mech pilot, D.Va is also a competent mechanic. So I won't go too far into the rest of this guide, because frankly there's a fucking lot of it, but all we really know about D.Va is that she is from South Korea. She is a famous esports player, famous enough that people ask for her autograph and shit, which is, a way bigger deal in South Korea than it is over here, I suppose. But also that she's part of this kind of crew of people, mech pilots.
Mecha leads the way.
Yes, and Mecha defends South Korea from crazy octopus robots, apparently, according to her her video. And we're hoping at some point that the rest of the pilots, or at least one or two of them, maybe get introduced to the game. So that's a little bit about the backstory of D.Va. I won't. And again, if you're interested in this stuff, then I'll have a link to the full bio in in the description for it. I don't want to go over all of it because, frankly, there's a whole lot. There is some trivia, though. So we have some fun trivia we can go over for D.Va. So her name is a play on the word diva, meaning a female celebrity. Did you know that, guys? Okay, great. So D.Va's given name, Hana, is the same as the Korean #1. This parallels her personality as she is a world champion and self-proclaimed #1. D.Va's jersey number when she was a pro player was also #1. D.Va's suit has sponsors all over it, which is a reference to the same advertising style as sponsors in Korean esports, which is a lot like NASCAR, Keegan. Why do you keep looking at me when I say your name? You know it. D.Va's mech is named. Do you know D.Va's mech had a name? I just learned this now. D.Va's mech is named Toki, which means
Rabbit.
Rabbit. Yeah.
I knew that.
My rabbit
why do you think she has the bunny symbol?
I don't know. Hannah is a fan of Lucio's music and has apparently bought his album. He, in turn, also knows enough of the pro gaming scene to be a fan of her.
That's where he chose his autograph as a voice line.
Yeah. Until Arisa was introduced, D.Va was the youngest hero in the game. D.Va is sometimes teased by others because of her age, such as when Widowmaker mockingly says, "This is no place for children." D.Va is the 5th playable Overwatch character in Heroes of the Storm. And yeah, there's some other stuff there as well. So we do know her voice actor is Charlotte Chung, who is her English voice actor anyway. And when she commented positively on the character, saying, in terms of representation of Asian American characters in video games, particularly women, they might be over-sexualized. And I don't know if I'm being too candid here. I feel like D.Va is more of a real person. She happens to have some sex appeal, but that's not why she's in the game. She's not there to be an exotic lotus, as she put it, which I think is
still
cool.
Hot.
Okay. And we've met Charlotte Chung. We have met and interviewed, well, you interviewed Charlotte Chung. She is very lovely. So we will say that. And then very quickly before we dig into the rest of it here, let's go over the weapons. So we've got fusion cannons, which are basically like rapid fire shotguns. We have the defense matrix, which will eat any projectiles, which we were talking about earlier. We have her boosters, which allow her to zip all over the place, up, down, left, right. Micro missiles, which are just like a flood of missiles that come out of damn near nowhere. She also can eject from her mech and cause it to explode with self-destruct. She kind of has, she's one of the only characters, I guess, that has like a secondary ultimate as well, which is to call her mech when she's Pilot D.Va. She has to build that up the same way as a regular ultimate. When she is Pilot D.Va, though, aka Baby D.Va, she has her light gun too, which is a little pistol very similar to Mercy's pistol, probably a little more powerful, or at least fast, though.
I was going to say, it does more damage. At least I tend to do more damage with it.
Right.
It's more rounds per second.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think it's just faster. Same type of gun. But yeah, so that's D.Va. D.Va is one of the most popular characters in the game. Always used kind of like, almost like a tracer style symbol of the game, would you say? Like if there's merchandise somewhere for Overwatch, very likely there's D.Va merchandise in that pile somewhere, right?
It's the bunny symbol.
The bunny symbol. Super popular.
Ducky!
And with that, I'll pass it over to you, James. What are your thoughts on the lovely Miss D.Va?
Firstly, I'd like to point out that Poco is probably so powerful on D.Va because they're called fusion cannons. Sorry. Thoughts on D.Va, though. Firstly, this was like my first character that I just played all the time. I would play her literally every match. Anyone who knows me from back, it was pretty much I would play D.Va or maybe Tracer, but I'd pretty much be playing D.Va because let's be honest, in the early days when nobody knew how to play the game, mind you, I wrecked on her. I was getting self-destructs left, right, and center, blah, 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 blah. And then I started watching League and started watching Poco, and I learned how to play her properly. But she's been pretty much in meta the whole game through, and she's kind of, I think, originally Tracer is what they were basing off where everybody else should be. Yeah. And now D.Va, I think D.Va is what they said is what they're basing the entire meta off of. Like, they want D.Va to be in there because she's so versatile. But they're basing everyone off how powerful they are compared to D.Va. And that's kind of like she's always been in there, and she still is. And you'd rarely see a match, even in Overwatch League, where D.Va's not in there to some extent. So she's a very important character to learn if you're an off tank. And that being said, I'd like to bring up 2 points recently that I've noticed very important things to do as D.Va. Firstly, and this is something that I learned in the Boston match versus Defiant is that they commented on how Note, specifically, he finds that small window of opportunity, he waits for it. He sees a low healer, goes after it. That's such a huge thing as D.Va, is you have to know when to chase those kills and when not to, because otherwise you're going to get demeched and when you're useless. Depending on who you are, depending on what level it is. That's one of the big things, is knowing when to chase, when to go after, and when to pull that aggression back. It's a big balance.
And by chase, you specifically mean like to boost after someone, guns blazing, and
push them away,
maybe.
Push them away from their team and finish them. Gotcha. Like, chase out, it works for snipers too. Like, you see a sniper in a position, you go micro missiles, shoot, fly, get in their face, and just finish them, like, almost like a tracer one clip. Yeah, just burn them down. The other thing is, now with the extra cooldown on Matrix, you firstly have to know when to use Matrix, like how to use it, and also how to save its resources. Like, if you know there's some ults coming up, you actually have to kind of be like, I'm going to hide behind the shield, I'm going to be passive, and then I'm going to pull it. And also, like, improving your action times on it. Just make it an automatic response. You hear that ult call out, you just press the button. Just press the button, look at them, turn, press the button, maybe you'll catch it. And you'll get better over time. So it's those two things. Firstly, know when to push in, because you're going to be doing a lot of damage on D.Va. Secondly, know how to use that matrix. Know how to use it sparingly. Know how to use it. Know when to burn it. Know when to save it. And just keep those things in mind when you're playing D.Va. Those are my big tips right now.
Since they've increased the cooldown for the matrix to, is it 2 seconds now?
2 seconds.
Yes.
If you hold it down for not a whole burn, it's just like a little like bloop, is it still 2 seconds?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's still a longer cooldown.
Do you feel like you may as well just burn it if you're going to use it then?
No, I've actually been doing the exact opposite. I've actually been using it like intermittently more. And the only time I'll burn it is if I see, like, if there's a Reaper up, I'll kind of back up, wait for him to drop down, and then as soon as I hear like just the first D of his die, I just burn it. Same thing with Pharah. If I see a Pharah going up, I'm going to start looking at her. And then as soon as I
really appreciate the acting that's going into this. Right? I'm going to start looking.
But it's a visualization. Like, she's going to be up in the air.
I dig it.
And you kind of wait for her, and then as soon as you see her start doing her thing, you just hold that matrix. That's like the only times you're going to be wanting to burn it now, is when there's a lot of incoming fire. The other times you're just going to want to activate it just long enough to catch whatever it is, be that a Moira Orb, a Fire Strike, a Grav, dragons, whatever it is that you're eating. And then let the resources build up again.
Yeah, because the 2 second cooldown is not the 2 seconds to recharge. That's just how quickly you can turn it on and off. It takes 8 seconds to recharge still, or 7 seconds or something, 8 or 7 or 8.
So burning it, or you're going to be left defenseless and unable to defend your team. More importantly, because it is a team game.
Really?
You have to save.
No one ever
told
me that.
More now.
So
yeah,
okay.
It's not like I yell it all the time.
And it's funny because I feel like a lot of people don't know that that you can use Defense Matrix on Reaper ult because it's not a projectile per se, but you can DM it. And like we had a fight on Anubis, and I ended up getting demeched because they Reaper ulted, and then they Pharah ulted, and then they Genji ulted, and I was like, well, I'm fucked. Literally within like, I don't know, 6 seconds. Because they was making
good
a final
old
push.
apocalypse.
Yeah, you're like, I can't do anything. But like James says, like if I'm playing against a Reaper, and this is what we were joking with you earlier, but like having awareness, knowing there's a Reaper on map, knowing when he last pulled ults, and be like, okay, he hasn't pulled it for the last fight, maybe 2 fights. He's got ults. Where's he at? When I hear that voice line, I need to be somewhere where the cluster of people are, because that's where he's going to land, and just DM it. And if you DM it, I'm pretty sure you can DM almost the whole thing. I don't know if you can DM all of it, but you can mitigate, I would say, at least 90 to 95% of it.
You give people a chance to escape too.
You can usually buy your team enough time to act on it, either take him out, or if you have like a Reinhardt, they're going to start backing up with their shield to protect the rest of the team. Anna's maybe going to sleep him. Whatever, Breedy's going to have a chance to get that bash in.
Or
whoever
Widow
you have on the team, someone's going to be able to do something if your team's paying attention.
Yeah. Yep. So like that, yeah. Saving D.Va's defense matrix for ults, and it's funny because I'm the same way, James. Like I feel like I used to use defense matrix way more because I was like, oh, it's always there, and now I'm like, oh shit, now I got to be careful and be more in tune of what's being shot at me. And it's not D.Va's defense matrix isn't for the spam that gets shot at you; it's for the heavy burst of stuff. So like, I can demech a D.Va against me, Because you know what D.Vas do as soon as you start shooting them? They put the defense matrix up. You know what I do?
It's mind games.
As soon as that defense matrix goes up and it goes back down, I shoot my rockets because I know she can't put it up for 2 seconds, so I get more damage on her, and then I take her out of mech. So
and then
it's
you
little
can
things like
defense
that.
matrix and escape and just leave her out of mech because she's not going to do much. There was another thing on D.Va, and I just remembered it, and something I forgot about earlier, but it's something that I just remembered. When facing Sombra specifically, because Sombra is such a big thing right now, if you know there's a Sombra, just spin around and look for her. Like, shoot, if you have an idea of where she's coming from, if you just get her, like, if you make her get out of that invisibility, she's going to translocate back and get out of there. She's not going to be able to do anything for the entire time. If you keep wasting her time, firstly, she's not going to get ultra'd because she's not going to be shooting anyone. Secondly, she's just not going to be able to do anything in general. If you just keep looking for her, because there's so many times where... Like, there will be a D.Va, they're not looking for... You can't take too much attention off the Sombra, but if you just, like, occasionally think, oh, I think she might be coming that way, just shoot over there, you're either going to find her or you're going to be like, okay, cool, she's not there. It's another awareness thing. Like, you just...
And you don't have to reload as D.Va, so you don't have to worry about recharging your ammo.
And
People don't realize that.
People, like, sometimes be like, oh, look at my weapon accuracy on D.Va, it's so high. It's irrelevant.
Matter. Yeah.
It's irrelevant. Just, like, shoot it wherever. Check for that Sombra. You don't need to reload. It is going to reduce your movement speed a bit, but if you're checking for Sombra, you don't really need to be moving that fast anymore.
I'm not going to lie. I still try and reload on D.Va sometimes. I just forget that I still press the button.
The only time you have to reload, Tom, is when you're hopping back in mech.
Oh, I know. I just
or you're
do
gone.
it. Yeah, so, I mean, D.Va, like you said, has always had this kind of really nice staple place in the meta, I think. I think she's a really solid character. She's kind of like your first taste of a character that has a little bit more going on with them than, say, like a soldier or a mercy or someone that's just kind of simple. Like, there's definitely a lot more mechanically you have to learn with D.Va in terms of not just like defense matrixing and like the more high-end stuff, but even just the fact that she can fucking fly, you know what I mean? Like, knowing how to, like, get to high ground, take advantage of it, how to use it to escape,
the swoop,
like,
so
the
you can come
swoop,
up.
yeah, like, all that kind of stuff.
Canceling it.
Canceling it, booping
Jumping
with
on
it,
snipers.
you know, booping
Yeah,
people
jumping on
off
snipers,
ledges,
that kind of stuff.
that kind of stuff. This is all, like, really important stuff that is, I wouldn't call it beginner. I'd call some of that advanced, intermediate to advanced techniques, especially if you watch a really good D.Va player. You watch like a Note or a Void or a Poco, then yeah, you really get to see it. Have you felt that you've seen less, let's say 3, 4, 5-man bombs in the last like year than when you were first playing Overwatch?
Yes,
Well,
but I
because
also
people
think-
are more aware of it.
Yeah, I was gonna say it also depends on what you're playing at. Like, we play on high level accounts. When I created my new account, I played one match as D.Va and I wrecked house because they don't know what's going on. But when you get to the point where you've played it and you're matched with people who are similar skill to you, they hear nerf this and they fucking run. The one thing I want to point out with that though is I also think that's making people be more creative with D.Va bombs. Like, I still get 3 and 4Ks by throwing it. There's one the other day where I was on Hollywood second point and we were defending, and I came back from where the mega health pack is when you come through the gates on the right, and I tossed it up over there, and you could tell they had no idea where it was. The cart was like at the end of that road turning left, so I tossed it back by the mega health pack where I knew people would run to, and I got 4 kills out of it because they were there. Or tossing it on Dorado, instead of tossing it like over the bridge, toss it at a weird angle because people don't know where it's coming from.
Right.
And landing it on stuff.
Do you
is
think
important
that like right now there's been like times where certain combinations, ult combinations I'm referring to, have reigned supreme in Overwatch League. Let's say for a long time, Grav Dragon was the thing to do, right? It was Grav Dragon every match when Hanzo got buffed initially. Nowadays, with the double sniper thing kind of gone to the wayside and with Goats reigning supreme, they have this D.Va Grav combo, Grav Bomb combo. I don't know what the official term for it is.
It's Grav Bomb Boop is what I've been calling it.
Right,
Yeah.
because it requires a 3-man play to successfully integrate. So that's kind of what I want to point out is that like how, like even when they have these Grav Bomb combos, a lot of the times when that boop is not done successfully, they don't get anyone with it. And I know that half of it is like forcing the Reinhardt to choose, right? It's like, do you turn around and stop the bomb and let your team get shot to fuck from the front, or do you stay on the front until like the last second and then try and swap around? Like, how do you deal with it? And then, you know, when you bring Lucio or whatever into the mix and they just boops you up in the air, like Fusion did on I want to say it was Numbani at the end of that map.
There was one also on a
it was
Paul
beautiful.
that was pretty looking.
Yeah, but they just like they booped the Reinhardt directly up, and the bomb managed to go underneath the shield and then just kill everyone. It was like a 4K or something. I mean, they are sick when you get them, but do you think it's kind of like, I don't know, I don't want to say like less impressive, but like there's so many of them that just don't lead to anything. Does that bother you?
Here's the thing, though, and this is what, I forget who said it. I don't know if it was Poco. It was somebody, or maybe it was Reinforce. I don't know. It was somebody who said that the combo is less about the D.Va's mechanical skill, and it's more about everybody else's in the play. Because D.Va's just throwing it pretty much straight up above the team. That's all she has to do. It's more about, does the Lucio get the boop? Does the Grav get everybody in? Sometimes the Reinhardt will actually charge the other Reinhardt out of the way. I think I've seen that one or two times.
That's a good one.
It's more about the follow-up. The bomb isn't so much about the D.Va right now. It's more about everybody else, at least in Overwatch League. So yeah, it's less about the D.Va right now. It is a bit less impressive because literally the D.Va just has to throw it up in the air and hope that everybody else follows up. But I think it's more impressive. This is kind of taking away from D.Va. It's more impressive with the Lucios actually being the playmaker, which I think is pretty interesting. So it's this weird balance. Like, it's not D.Va doing all the work, but I mean, it's a Lucio.
And you have to communicate and get it all coordinated.
Yeah. So it takes a lot more coordination. This is why, to kind of digress and go back to the league right now, a lot of people are complaining about GOATs right now, but I feel like it requires so much more coordination and planning than Dive did.
As a team.
Whereas Dive, it also had this good part where it was like people could just go mechanically nuts and run. And I wonder if there'd ever be a point where you could see both at the same time, but that's not how this game works, honestly. But it's a lot more teamwork right now to set up bombs, especially at the high levels, even at my level. Like, usually I have to get somebody, there's a plan. I will actually lay out my plan. Like, I need this to go down. I need the shield to go down. I need this character either dead or their cooldowns to be, like, I will actually state that plan sometimes, as you guys have sometimes heard. Like, I'll wait for the MP, or I'll be like, this Reinhardt needs to get a shield down or needs to be pushed out of position. So it's still coordination. Like, it's a lot of coordination with the bomb now. It's not just throw it in and hope for the best.
I also think at even levels that don't use GOATs primarily, like the lower level, like where I'm at, GOATs is never a thing. And when you run GOATs, you feel like a fucking god. We've done that a couple times, actually. And you're like, oh, God, this is what it's like. But I think people have also gotten better at knowing what counters D.Va bombs. Like, I've seen more Winston bubbles go on top of a D.Va bomb than I think I ever had in a long time.
I always mess that up and get myself killed.
Yeah.
But I saved the team. Saved the team.
Yeah. But I've seen that happen more often. Obviously, Ryans are pretty smart at turning their shields, that kind of thing. But I think at the high level, yeah, it's like James said, the Lucio's I think the key factor. If he fucks up, doesn't matter. Unless Ryan has a shatter.
And it doesn't actually have to be the Lucio either. I mean, Reinhardt can charge, like you said. Brigitte can bash the Rein shield down at the right second.
There's just be somebody.
There's a lot of like opportunities for that play to go right and to go wrong, and it's just kind of like, it is interesting to see the intricacy of having the 3-man play rather than the 2-man play of the Grav Dragon. I definitely prefer it to Grav Dragon, but it isn't quite as spectacular of a wipe every time than Grav Dragon was, and we're still kind of playing the wait out Transcendence game as well with a lot of it. Although, you know, if it's done right, Transcendence shouldn't be able to save those players from that. So
it is a lot of fun, I will say, when you do get a big D.Va bomb.
Yeah.
Like, when you see that 3, 4, 5, 6K go off, you're like, man. And a lot of times it's the ones you don't expect. Like, the ones you set up go fucking haywire. It's the ones like, I'm just going to shoot this over the roof and see what happens. And, oh shit, I just killed 4 people because they're all standing there waiting.
Which is funny because I just said about the whole you can't just sort it. Sometimes you actually can. It's a lie. Sometimes you actually can, but it's usually because the team's not having that awareness.
There's a
you
match
kind of
on.
know when there's a team that's not going to pay attention to it.
There's a match I had on Dorado, and I go to Bertrand and David. I go, "Hey, watch this!" And I just threw the D.Va bomb in because I'm like, they're over there somewhere. It's been about 15 seconds. They're coming back from spawn, and sure as shit, it landed, and it goes boom, and it cut 4K, and David goes, "Oh shit!" I was like, "Yeah, I didn't actually expect that to work."
All right. So for D.Va mains out there, or for people that are considering picking up D.Va, trying to learn something a bit more mechanical than some of the like Orisa or whatever, who would you recommend that those people watch if they have the All Access Pass, or if they just want to watch a streamer? Who give me a couple names if you have them, or just one that you think is a good player to pay attention to learn D.Va. Let's go James first, because he has his fingers ready to count.
Poco, Note, Envy. I haven't really watched Void, but Void's supposed to be very good as well. And those are the ones I can think of off the top of my head. Envy has been actually really good on the Defiant. He's looking much better than he did on Valiant. I will say that much. I've been watching Toronto be his Canadian team, even though they're all Koreans. But they're still representing Canada, so I'm still going to cheer for them.
It's like
and they're Koreans that I like. Yeah, Envy's been actually really impressive this season. Also, Rhea of the Spark has been doing pretty good on D.Va as well, so I'd watch him.
Keegan?
I would say Emong. That's who I've watched. The only difference between the reason I would tell you to watch Emong versus an Owl player is because Emong is in the competitive environment, which is very different than the team environment. But do you watch Owl players? Do you watch, like, I second everybody, James said, Poco, Note, Rhea, and just kind of watch all of them and just see, like, positioning, because you get a lot of positioning stuff from them. But from, like, how do you save your team in a shit show that is the Overwatch ranked at times? Yeah. Watch Emong, because he's really good at, I learned kind of with him how to, like James was saying earlier, when to engage, when to disengage and get out and be like, okay, I need to get back, or when to peel for your healers. He plays a lot with, you were talking Fran. He plays with her a lot, and she plays a lot of healers. So, like, he will come back and peel for her. And I was like, oh, okay. And you're just hoping your healers where they need to be when you come back and peel and stuff like that. So, but I would say Emong is the big one that I would recommend, and I've watched to learn when it comes to just playing ladder.
I'll second all of those. I will say Void, actually, like you mentioned, James, has impressed me, I think, the most out of any new divas. I've always been a fan of Poco and Note and those guys, but Void, I've been watching a lot of him playing, and very impressive diva. Very, very impressive diva. So I would say if you have the All Access Pass and you want to tune into a specific player's view and you happen to be watching, is it Gladiators? It's Gladiators, right? I think
Gladiators. Void's on Gladiators.
Yeah, then watch Void because he is a stunningly good diva. I have a lot of respect for that guy. But yeah, I think that's a good selection. So let's get to the last part where we talk about a few favorites with the diva. So first of all, and I want you to do it in her voice. Favorite voice line. Let's go, James first.
Crap. How do I do it? Ooh, Johnny! Sorry. But you have to do it with the repetitive, so ooh, ooh, ooh. Just because that annoys the fuck out of people when you get a kill. They just are like, stop. Also, the Happy New Year one, where I can't pronounce it because I don't know the words, but where she just says a bunch of stuff in Korean and it's really cute. It's something Mickey spammed last year at some point in the league, and it was annoying everybody, but I thought it was hilarious. That one's also a pretty good one. And then third would be when you kill someone and she just says, get owned.
All right, Keegan, what you got?
Probably, I get a feeling you're not taking me seriously. Nailed it.
That was like Mickey Mouse doing it. That was
like
amazing.
I get a feeling you're not taking me seriously. But no, I get it. Like, I use it all the time because, like, a lot of times when I'm playing Overwatch, and this is bad, but I play quick play. I'm with my group of friends. We're 3 or 4 stacking, whatever it is. We're not talking to the other team in quick play. If you're competitive, I'm usually in voice. I try to be in voice chat, but not all the time. And the only way I can communicate is through that. So when I'm pissed off, I'll just turn to the person, or like if they say something to me, and you can tell there's a person the other day that wanted me to. I was playing Zen as healer, and they clearly wanted a different healer. So I switched to D.Va, and I said, "I get a feeling you're not taking me seriously," and switched back to Zen. Just be like, "Fuck you." That one's fun. I also like what's the all you should have from Winter Wonderland.
You shouldn't have. Yeah.
And I also do AFK when somebody loads in and just is standing in spawn.
AFK.
My favorite would be the GG. That's like because I have the GG spray too. So whenever we're like either getting owned or owning, I will usually bring that one out, the GG line. That's one of my favorites. And also everyone's favorite after you've just wrecked the entire team. Is this easy mode? Is another one of my favorites too. So that's it for voice lines. Let's talk about skins. James, what you rocking? What's your favorite skin?
I've actually been using recently a lot, and I'm a big fan of the League skins, so I'm going to go with the League skin, but Toronto Defiant Home. Like, I've been loving that skin. I've been using a lot of the Boston Uprising one, but the Toronto Defiant Home, like, she just looks like a frigging Sith Lord in a mech. Like, it's amazing. I just love it so much. So yeah, Toronto Defiant.
I run with League skins 99% of the time. So I have the Fusion skin on her 99% of the time. But if I'm doing one of her like non-League skins, Junker is my favorite.
That's my favorite. That's my favorite non-League skin for her, actually.
Yeah, but I'm always in a Fusion because me and David and Bertrand's working his way there, and you all have the Fusion skins. James has the Fusion skin, so I feel like it's badass when we all fusion up. David was pissed though because he was wearing the away and I was wearing the home. We didn't match. I was like, well, clearly we're on different teams then.
That's a funny point. Just a side note here is sometimes when I'm playing like a comp match, or just like if I'm playing a comp match and I see other people with a certain team's skin and I have that skin, on the second round I'll switch it. Just so that people are like, oh hey, and it makes people happy, and it actually makes people like, if you make people happy, they tend to play better, I find. But and they'll support you more. If you are a support, if you're a tank and that support is the same skin as you, they're more likely to heal you. It's some weird science. It's just psychology, I guess. But yeah, I'll actually do that. I'll switch skins to make people happy because I have like almost all the D.Va ones.
I'm a fan of the Black Cat. I gotta say, I know it's kind of cliched. I know, but I just like it. I think it looks cute. But also, what cola is it? Is it Nuka Cola? What's the
Nuka Cola is
Nano Cola.
It's Nano Cola. Is that it?
Yeah, Nuka Cola is Fallout, Tom.
All right, I forget the cola. Either way, that one from the special event, because she had that like 2-week event where you had a certain amount of time. Same as the recent one with Bastette for Anna. They had that like couple-week thing where you had to like watch streamers to get sprays, and you could play the game to earn special sprays and skins and whatnot. And I really like that one actually. The green looks really good, I think, with the pink, and it's mixed real nice. That's the one I usually rock and roll with.
Her wave racing one is also cool looking.
That's pretty cool. I
don't have it, which is why I didn't say it, but it's the one I want.
You can say it if you don't have it. That's fine. I'll allow it.
Yeah, I think it's the only one I don't have for her that's an event skin.
And then 2 more things. Number 1, where is D.Va's current place in the meta?
Eat Zarya's Graviton Surges.
Deny alt charge by eating stuff. Look for Sombras and deny the Gravs, deny the dragons if there are any. Not in the Overwatch League, but just
so
deny
she's
that
still
shit
a valid part of GOATS,
yes.
is what we're saying, right? She's still important.
You can't have GOATS without D.Va.
But there's a lot of teams that have started to run Sombra in place of D.Va. Do you think that's a viable strategy, or do you think you'd be better off sticking with D.Va?
It's actually an interesting because it's usually the D.Va player actually playing the Sombra, and that's because D.Va players are annoyed as heck by Sombra, so they know exactly what to do as a Sombra. That's the interesting part. And even I did it. I did it in a match the other day where I had to play DPS. I'm like, I'm going to play Sombra because I know who to annoy. And it's this weird thing. Like, it's this weird thing where it's like, that thing annoys the heck out of me. I'm going to play it. It's that sort of deal. So it actually does.
That's how I started off by playing May.
Well. It's been especially useful for NYXL. Neko has been really good on the Sombra.
He's scary good. Yeah, he's scary good.
Were you there that night, Tom, with Brian when he was pissed and I decided to play May and got play of the game?
I was.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's how I started playing May as well.
May is legit, dude. I don't care what anyone says. I want to see more May in Overwatch League.
I actually kind of want to start playing her.
She's amazing. She's amazing. No, I didn't mean it like that. All right, whatever. So yeah, I bring that up because I think Sombra is actually probably currently the single best counter to goats there is. Because for that split second when she EMPs and all of the shields and powers go away, they're most vulnerable. And if you have decent teammates, then you can wipe them in one go. So I think she's actually in a really interesting place in the meta right now where people are having to choose between Sombra or D.Va. And it's kind of like, I think for some teams, Sombra is working better. But for others, D.Va and the D.Va Grav bomb combo, like it's so profound right now and for most of the league that it just seems to be the go-to. But I think that she's pretty much meta-proof. I think you can find a way to fit D.Va into any meta, any comp. I don't think there's a single comp where you're like, nah, D.Va doesn't fit here. Because she's always going to be useful to some extent.
Quad DPS.
Even then. I would run D.Va as a solo tank over Reinhardt any day of the week with quad DPS. Because you're not getting enough heals to stay alive as Reinhardt. The DPS don't give a shit about your shield.
Hammond.
What, you'd play Hammond instead?
Hammond now might actually...
Yeah, quad DPS with Hammond.
Now maybe. But before the thing, he would just get wrecked.
We'll have to see because it's a PTR update, so we don't have it on console yet. But we'll have to see that. But yeah, D.Va's still in that interesting place. And as I said before, she can still, if she's looking for that Sombra and constantly disrupting her, she can still get the better of Sombra. So it's actually this interesting thing where it depends on who wins out in that fight.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Lastly, if you had the ability, if you were Papa Jeff from above, praise be Papa Jeff, and you could make any tweak to D.Va that you wanted to any of her abilities, what would you do to make her better but not unbalance her?
Make her trash talk the enemy team more.
Okay.
But in a friendly manner.
Just like, that's her passive?
Jokes aside,
consistently talking shit.
Jokes aside, though, I think she's just in a really good place right now. And she's that mainstay. She just, they make little tweaks here and there, and I'm usually pretty happy with them. I think she's in a decent place. I don't think really much needs to be changed at all.
Cake?
I agree. If I were to make a change, if I had to make a change, I probably would say give her a little bit more defense matrix just because it's on cooldown. But like James said earlier, you don't really burn through it that often. But the situation I had the other night where I had a Reaper ult and a Pharah ult, I'm cool getting demeched in that situation. But I feel like I was helpless in the sense that I couldn't defend my team at that point. And I was like, well, but that's a rare situation. I think, again, like James said, she's in a good spot. But I would love selfishly to have more defense matrix to be able to, those last minute pushes where they have all 6 ults and just say go and be like, well, fuck.
I think I would like to see a little bit of a boost to, and I can't decide whether I want it to be her cannons or whether I want it to be her micro missiles, but a little bit of a boost in damage to some of this. Because the micro missiles, I think, they're good, but realistically, they're so hard to hit all of them that it's rare that you're going to actually do much damage to anything except a tank, just because it's really easy to hit a tank.
Have you ever dove onto a sniper and shot those things?
I have, yeah, but you
have to unleash everything at once on them, and then they just get burnt. It's not so much a thing to be used on its own. It's more of a supplementary, extra damage thing.
Gotcha.
And also to make people back off, if there's a sniper kind of poking out, you just kind of fire some micro missiles at them. They're gonna have to hide. It's an interesting ability, and I think again, it's in a good spot.
We're here to validate your argument.
Oh yeah, I noticed.
Again, if Tia and I are on the same side on anything, Lord help anybody else.
I will say something that just come to mind is I would love to have her knockback with her thrusters be a little bit more at times, because I feel like there's moments where I hit somebody and I feel like they should go further, but they don't. But I don't know if this
kind of
did it fix that?
Because it's making all boops more consistent.
Okay, because there's times where I feel like I hit somebody and they're on the edge, and I don't expect it to be Lucio style where it's fucking flying, but at the same time, if I hit you with a fucking jetpack on, you should go back a little bit.
True.
So
I was gonna say I feel like you're
You're wrong.
forced to be close with D.Va, right? Because you're like, well, not all the time, but like I feel like she's
Well,
almost like
her guns are shotguns.
right. So
yeah,
you're like
supposed to be in their
Reaper-esque in
face.
the fact that you do have to be in their face and stuff like that. And I feel like sometimes I like to play a lot of long-range characters, so selfishly, that's why I would like a little bit of a boost to the micro-missiles, because I don't necessarily want to get in people's faces that much. I want to have some form of long-range ability with her that I can use, just like, even with like Reinhardt, right? Reinhardt, you have to swing a hammer, that's all you got, except for Fire Strike. Fire Strike, you can zip that up to a Pharah if you really feel like it. Sure, you're gonna get, have to get super lucky to hit her, but at least it like is some kind of an ability that does have the option of doing major damage to someone in the back line or a sniper or something like that. And I just feel like D.Va doesn't really have anything that's reliable at distance. And I think that if the micro missiles, maybe if the damage was more focused, like Bastion's recent thing, where it's more like less splash and more like direct, or like Pharah, for example, or if they were like just a tick or two higher damage rate, then I think I would like that a lot. And I don't think that would necessarily unbalance her unfairly. So that's the only thing I could think of. Alrighty. Cool. Well, guys, that was fun. Long but fun. I really appreciate you both for joining me for the first episode here. I think it went pretty good, right, so far? Great.
Mm-hmm.
So for those of you listening at home, this was the first episode of Hero Recall, which is our Overwatch podcast. We're going to try and put one out every 2 weeks if we can. They will be long, but they'll be every 2 weeks, so you'll have 2 weeks to digest them. And they're going to be focused on the game, the pro play, and heroes, maps, specific strategies, personal, all that fun stuff. Is there anything you guys want to say before we go?
All your arguments are invalid, and I'm always right.
Okay. James?
Keegan is right sometimes, as long as he agrees with my opinion.
I'm cool with that, because we agreed way more in this podcast than we have in a long time.
Oh, man. Lord help me for future episodes, folks. All right. Well, with that being said, this has been Hero Recall, because the world could always use more heroes like you. See you next time. Bye-bye.